This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
Mickey, fishy.
You are listening to the Flagship Podcast with your hosts, Joe Lanza.
I hate the commentators. I hate the ring announcers. I hate the production. I hate the wrestling. I hate the interviews. I hate their promo style. I hate the way the shows are presented. I hate the way the shows are paced. I hate the video packages. I hate everything about this company with every fiber of my being.
And Rich Crage.
You know, he comes out and you're just like, ugh, gross. Like, look at this guy. In all the best ways possible. He's just the slimiest looking guy you've ever seen. I love him so much. He's so good.
And we are live on the Flagship Podcast. I am Rich. He is Joe. So what do you guys want to talk about tonight, Joe? What do you got on the docket for tonight? What do you want to discuss in the world of wrestling?
Well, I got to tell you, I fired up the old Peacock just now.
Peacock.tv.com, or did you use one of your smart TVs?
No, I'm on the fucking TV.
The Peacock, yeah. What's on there?
So I fired up the Peacock to put on something just because there's no Thursday night football this week, with it being week 18, which is normally what I have on in the room here when I'm doing the show. So I wanted to put something on, just to have something on the TV.
Yeah, of course.
So I fire up the old Peacock.
The cock, as the kids like to call it.
And I decide to do something that no one has done in a very long time, and that is to check out some Progress Wrestling, Rich.
Oh, okay.
So,
what's the one? So there were recent shows on there, like recent Progress shows.
Rich, they run shows constantly,
wow,
and they are uploaded to the Peacock. So I am in the Progress section, taking a gander. And I'm like, you know what?
See what cheeky titles? What cheeky? Do they still do cheeky show names?
They do, and they're really bad.
Fantastic.
They're bad and low effort, and some of them are just chapters with no names. They don't even bother.
So they don't even bother anymore. I appreciate that. I appreciate their understanding that nobody cares, that no one's going to watch this thing. So why even bother with a cheeky, album cover or album name? Yeah, just call it chapter 126 and move on.
I'll run through them real quick. Stop motion skeleton battle.
Ugh, God. Fuck these guys so much.
No mountain high enough.
Oh, okay. All right.
Ain't no mountain high.
Relevant. Yeah. I can't hit on that one. That's a good one.
Oh, then we had the super strong style. That doesn't count.
Yeah. That's
24/7. See, very low effort. Very low effort.
24/7. How long was the show though? If it wasn't like the 24, what does that even mean?
Next up.
Anyway, go on. Yeah.
The Deadly Viper Tour, codename Copperhead.
Oh.
Followed by the Deadly Viper Tour, codename Cottonmouth.
Ha.
That's clever, I bet. Then it's chapter 139, chapter 140.
Who is watching these?
The guy in charge of naming the shows was arrested for some sort of sexual assault or something, probably. Chapter 141, handshakes and cheeseburgers. Next up.
Instead of hot dogs, Joe, you get it?
California Mountain Snake.
What's with the snakes?
Is
Jake the Snake doing a run? Is Jake the Snake doing a run in Progress that we didn't know about?
Codename Sidewinder.
Ken Stabler's out there doing stuff. So.
Codename Snake Charmer.
What the hell's with the snakes?
And the code names.
What?
Wrestling Witch Face Trick or Treat.
Okay.
I'm guessing that was in October.
I would assume that's a Halloween themed show, but.
And here's the event I will be partaking in as we do the show. They think it's all over. ...
Uh-oh. that sounds like a sex fest thing. That doesn't sound good. And hey, that kind of relevant for the topic of the show. One of the lead topics of the show. They thought it was over. dot dot dot.
Oh, and it might be. Here's why they may have chosen that name. Runtime 4 hours and 41 minutes.
What? No. Nobody wants that. Nobody is asking for 4 hours of progress in 2022. 4 hours?
So did they run a 4 hour and 41 minute show and then name it They Think It's All Over ... because they thought that was cute?
I got what's on. You gotta chime in every so often with what's on this show.
Do you think I'm going to know any of these people?
Please don't do that. Actually, so what was this? What chapter is this one?
What am I watching here? Well, here's the guy doing the graffiti, writing progress on the wall while the sirens blare. Chapter 146.
146. Okay, I'm just gonna take a quick.
Now, listen, those of you in the chat, it's not 4 hours. It's 4 hours and 41 minutes of progress.
Nearly
action.
5 hours of progress.
Okay.
There's a lot of matches on this show, so that might check out.
Listen, you could fire up the cock yourself and check out the runtime on this. You can do that.
I could. You're right. I could.
I'm not going to know who these people are.
I won't.
So.
I'm looking at the list. You'll know who most of these people are.
I don't have the volume on, so.
You got a Dan Maloney, Anthony Ogogo tag team coming up here in a bit.
All right. I'll check that out. As soon as I see like Nina Samuels, I'm out. You know what I mean? Like.
Well, the main event is Lana Austin versus Kanji, so you might want to.
I will not be watching the main event.
You might want to X out once that hits the ring. So.
All right. So.
But it's for the Progress Women's title, so there's stakes involved.
There's some stakes. Yeah. How great would this have been when Progress was good?
Oh, just having access to Progress shows at its at your fingertips. Yeah, that'd be pretty good. Yep.
Uploaded instantly on a service we already were paying for, right?
That'd be great. Yeah.
Just that would have been pretty cool. But hey, listen, they got a packed house here. I don't see any empty seats.
Somebody is watching Progress in 2020.
These shows get no buzz or discussion. None. Who are these people going to these shows?
No, they're not on Twitter, I'll tell you that. Or in our Discord, or talking to us on a regular basis. So,
do you think it's possible that like people are going to the shows, but they don't want to get shit?
So they just don't. Yeah. They don't tell anybody they're going.
They don't talk about it because like who's going to these? It's a packed house. Like I'm not doing shtick. There's a packed house here. But you would think that they like if I told you Progress folded, you would have believed me. But here we are.
So there you go. That's anybody who bets what the leading topic of the flagship this week was going to be. You're wrong. I'm positive you're wrong.
You were wrong.
No matter what you guessed, you were wrong. If it was Joe leads us through Progress 141, you thought it was over, ... then yeah, no.
There you go. There's some guy that is like they have a new guy doing the banter. Like,
oh, they still do the in-ring banter pre-show, but it's not Smallman anymore. So it just don't do it anymore then, because it's so geeky. If it's just another dude,
it's just some other guy, and he's like an MMA bro. He's got like a skull cap, and he's wearing a tight t-shirt, and he's got big arms, like he looks like an MMA bro. You know, he's wearing like Adidas with no laces. You know, he's like he's cool, Rich. This guy's really cool. He sounds
really fucking cool. I'll tell you that.
And he's doing the banter. I can't hear it because I have the sound off, but hey, he's working the room. I see people doing the thing with like their hand on their stomach, like doubling over, like chuckling. So he must have good material. There's people laughing.
Good banter.
Yeah, it must be funny. I don't know. Maybe he's got a good bit going here. I don't know.
We'll have to check in. We'll have to check in with Progress. Maybe that's our new niche this year is we'll watch Progress when nobody
check in
else
on nobody.
Right.
I don't think anybody wants that.
No.
Nobody wants that.
I always thought, when is the time going to be right to do a look back at the early Progress chapters? Like, is the time ever going to be right to do that? When will people be okay with that? You know what I mean? Like, because if you did it now, it's still
Nah, people will be all over you.
People would be so pissed about it. But I've always thought, like, man, a deep dive or like a review series on the Patreon where we just watch like the chapters but you got to qualify everybody. If you praise a guy, you got to make sure that they're not a sex pest, because then people are going to go, "Oh, yikes!" Like, it's like, "Hey, that guy had a really good match," and they're like, "Yikes, Rich!" Like, he did. Actually, this guy did, and I'm like, "Ah, well, shit. All right, sorry."
Sending you screenshots,
right? But there's got to be a time when you can do that again.
I mean, listen, you can do that in the privacy of your own home. You want to go watch the Progress shows, Rich? Nobody's stopping you. I mean, you can go relive the entire library. How far back does it go on the Peacock?
That I don't know. Question. Yeah, that's a great question for someone with access to the cock at any time.
Well, I've got Spike Trevette cutting a pre-tape promo on Jonathan Gresham.
That is a made-up name. That I am not believing.
No, you don't know him?
Spike Trevette?
He's a champ.
Spike Trevette.
He had a hot feud.
You want me to believe that a man named Spike Trevette exists and not in Mike Quackenbush's Chikara? No.
Rich, he had a hot feud with Cara Noir on
I'm sure it was piping hot.
No, on the British Indies, like before all the shit went down. Then I reviewed like every match. I'm surprised you're not familiar with.
Yeah,
Spike.
I don't remember the name.
He wrestles in like a old timey 1920s suit, like is his deal. Like he wears like a 3-piece with the vest and the. I'm surprised you don't know who this is.
Let me look up this lad. This bloke over here. Let's see what he looks like. Oh yeah. Okay, I remember this guy.
Yeah, so I had a feeling you knew who he was. He is the.
Those are some dark days, man. Spike Trevette versus Cara Noir. Yeah, well, whatever.
Well, he's in a hot feud with John Gresham. It looks like in progress. So, maybe that's what's my main event tonight? You still looking at this?
No, the main event was Kanji and Lana Austin for the Progress Women's title.
What was the
real main event?
What's the real main event?
For Progress 1? No, spoilers? I won't give any spoilers. I'll just give you the match. It's Axel Tischer and Big Damo versus Leon Slater and Luke Jacobs.
I don't think that's the main event either. What's the ticket selling match on this show?
I don't know. I don't know. Ricky Knight Jr. versus Tate Mayfairs?
That's the end of the Natural Progression series.
Yes.
That one. RKJ wins that. Spoiler alert.
Okay, is that the ticket buy? I can keep listing matches if you want, but they're not going anywhere.
It's the champion on the show.
Spike Trevette. He's facing Jonathan Gresham.
Oh, well, that's the main event. What are we doing here?
Start the show, I guess. Is it opening? It says it's opening the show on this thing.
That's the real main event. I guess that's why I'm getting the video.
What about Hair versus Mask? Kid Lycos versus Chuck Mambo.
They got Cash Wheeler on the show. Oh, Hair versus Mask.
Yes.
This is a like a lucha stipulation.
Yeah, like a stipulation. One man will get his hair cut.
I was like, when did Cash Wheeler go to Progress? Hair is on the show.
Hair versus Mask. Yeah. No, Kid Lycos, Chuck Mambo. Somebody will lose their mask or lose their hair.
Well, it's probably Kid Lycos because we just saw Chuck Mambo wrestle on the Rev Pro show, and he appeared to have hair.
Well, I hate to spoil it, but apparently Chuck Mambo lost that match. So either
all right.
he grows his hair pretty quickly, I guess.
Or
they just gave him a nice. Maybe he had enough nice tight fade. Kid Lycos got in there and gave him a nice tight fade, and was like, there you go. That'll learn you.
Maybe he didn't have hair. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? I think he did though.
I thought he did too.
I think he did.
Who knows when these were taped and aired? Who can tell? Anyway, it looks like Gresham's going to cut. What are we doing here? Vince McMahon's coming back.
Thank you. I was waiting. That was our banter, our pre-show banter. See, people can't say it's not wrestling. Like the timestamp dorks on YouTube, they're like, the wrestling starts at 14:22. Like, you can't do that now. That was all wrestling right there at the beginning.
I'm keeping you up on current events.
Yeah,
here.
Yeah. This is current haps in the world of Progress. On the
shit, we might cover Progress every week. How would that? We'll really stick it to them. How about we open up with Progress every week?
The ringer bit is done. Long live Progress.
Is that more threatening to the audience or you?
Me, I think. No, maybe the audience. Yeah. No, I probably, looking at this card, like, I think I would like a lot of what's on here. Like, I don't really want to watch Progress anymore, but I'd be okay. But then, yeah, I think that the audience would. Our numbers would plummet the first 30 minutes. If they knew that every show started with a 30-minute discussion of the latest haps in Progress, it'd be like a Wednesday flagship where everybody checks in at 9 o'clock or whatever. So.
We missed last week on the Masked Man show when they did the Maskey Awards. And the match of the year.
Oh, love the Maskies. Yeah, what was the match of the year in the Maskies?
I didn't listen. But, hold on. Well, you know what? It's the Ringer. They do transcripts. So give me a second. I'll scroll through.
Great radio. Yes.
I want to know what their match of the year was.
Match of the
year. You want to try to
yeah.
guess while I'm looking for it?
The Maskies match of the year, I am gonna say it is either the War Games Bloodline versus whatever the fuck match, or Cody versus Seth at Hell in a Cell.
All right. I got to tell you, scrolling through these transcripts takes longer than you would think.
It's a lot of words.
There's a lot of words. Tune in next week, and I'll let you know what the, Masked Man match of the years were. Because I can't find this.
Oh, my God. Incredible.
I don't know when in the show they did it. This is supposed to be the Maskey Awards, and I don't even...
Yeah, they got a... Does this get published anywhere?
I don't see any awards either. This is...
what a disaster.
They're doing the top non-wrestlers of the year. I don't know what that's all about. All right, this bit's falling apart because I can't find the answer.
If somebody in the No chat room wants to let us know what the Maskey match of the year was, we'd be very very appreciative of that.
Well, on this week's show, they did lead off with Wrestle Kingdom.
Oh,
but it was Mercedes Mone that they led off with.
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
Not the rest of the show. Topic 2, quick break for more wrestling impressions. Topic 3, whether or not John Cena is the greatest WWE superstar of all time.
Oh, what a debate. We too shall debate that later as well.
Well, I saw Kaz was saying that he has now lapped Hulk Hogan in drawing money and everything else. And I was like, what?
No, he hasn't.
Bryan Danielson's path to challenging MJF for the AEW World title.
Okay.
Is Kenny Omega versus Will Ospreay match of the year already? Well, I'd say it is the best match so far this year.
Yes, a little bit of a hot take by the Ringer, the Maskey on the Maskey show, but I would say that 5 days into the year, yes, Will Ospreay and Kenny Omega is indeed the 2023 match of the year.
I do think that they do mean will it be the match of the year is what they mean. And final topic, Solo Sikoa being the next head of the table.
We too.
So
they're taking all of our discussion points from this week's episode. We are going to discuss if John Cena is the greatest WWE superstar of all time. So,
Rich, we just talked about Spike Trevette versus Jonathan Gresham.
That's true. We have no
no leg to stand on here. For Cheap Heat,
we're being told in the No Dope chat room that the Reigns Lesnar match from SummerSlam was the Maskey match of the year.
With the bulldozer
crane and the bulldozer and the tables. Yeah, that's the one. So.
Oh well, can't account for taste, I guess. Cheap Heat with Dopey Pete and Dip. So there's no Stack Guy Greg this week.
He's still upset about Forbidden Door being the show of the year.
Probably. Stack Guy Greg is he's too sad to do a show this week. Topic number 1 was Charlotte Flair winning the women's championship and her return to SmackDown. That's a very Dopey Pete lead topic. That's that's to form, I would say. Topic 2, what Ric Flair's appearance means for the future of not Ric Flair. What Charlotte Flair's appearance means for the future of Ronda Rousey, and why Dip thinks WWE messed up Rousey's career from the moment he's... How long is this topic?
Oh, my good Lord. All right.
Is this the transcript? Topic 3. Why Rosenberg feels that not even the great John Cena is impervious to ring rust. So Dopey Pete didn't like Cena's performance.
Yeah, the always incredible performer John Cena. Yeah, it's amazing that as he's entering
topic 4,
mid-40s and after months off, he's maybe not the greatest worker. Okay.
Speculation on the future of Sasha Banks. Remember, this was a few days ago.
Right.
We got a bonus topic.
Oh, great.
Plus, what is WWE going to do with Omos, Bronson Reed, and why Dexter Loomis thing won't work? And of course, the mailbag. Well, you can scratch off our conversation about Omos and Bronson Reed because the boys over at Cheap Heat had it covered, Rich.
Yeah, so go listen to Cheap Heat for we had a lot of other stuff to get to tonight, so I don't think we're going to get to our discussion on Omos and Bronson Reed and Dexter Loomis and whether the character has been portrayed properly. So yeah, go to Cheap Heat to listen to that one. That's all I'll say.
What to do with Omos? Take that off our run sheet.
Omos? Yeah, which sucks because I had a lot of ideas. I put down a lot of ideas, but I mean, if we get to it, we get to it. I got it. Maybe an overrun, but yeah, it does feel like a little bit of a wasted work knowing that Dip already covered it. So I have nothing more to say.
Dip. I was promised Uncle Howdy in the podcast title, but I don't see Uncle Howdy on the run sheet. So unfortunately, there will be no Uncle Howdy breakdowns, Rich. So we'll see what they cover.
This week, yeah, this will be a fun week to see what they cover.
Yeah, I'm dying to know how they handle that and what the order, how far they can bury the Vince stuff. Because once again, we buried it behind the latest Progress show, so we don't really have a leg to stand on here. But we'll see what the Ringer shows do.
Yeah.
So Gresham and Trevette have not even locked up yet. So
now we know why I went 4 hours and 41 minutes or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know what we're doing here, but we're still doing intros for some reason, and I swear Gresham's been in the ring. Well, at least since I've been doing that Mess Man bit. So what do we do? We're going to start this match. Fans want action. We going to do Vince or what do you want to do?
Yeah,
Vince, right?
Yeah, I think that's we got plenty to get to today. Obviously, we'll talk about Wrestle Kingdom, New Year Dash, New Japan Pro Wrestling. We'll talk about the fallout from that. We did a full review of Wrestle Kingdom 17 immediately after the show. That's on Instant Reaction Live. Over at flagshippatreon.com, the $10 tier. So you can go listen to that if you want. So we're not going to go match by match with our full review of Wrestle Kingdom, but there's some news and notes that I think we need to update people on and at least discuss a little bit. We have some data on New Japan World Subscription. So, Mercedes Monet, what she maybe did for that. AEW and Mercedes, FKA Sasha Banks, is she showing up or not, and some confusion that's been going on over the last week. We have Noah as well, Noah the New Year, review that show. We both watched that, ready to talk about that. And then, of course, a check-in on All Japan Pro Wrestling, and there's some happenings in the world of New Japan Pro Wrestling, including a brand new All Asia Tag Team champions that we have to discuss, unfortunately. But I think after we've talked about...
Hey, is that are those New Japan World sub numbers? Is that exclusive? Did anyone else have that yet?
I don't know if anybody else has that yet. So we'll
let's just call it exclusive.
We'll call it exclusive. Yes, I don't know if I've seen it anywhere else, but
we could tell everybody how many subs were added. Right? That's
new accounts created. We don't know subscriptions.
Come on, that's subs added. Come on, that's...
Well, I think you can make an account but not sign up for it, I believe.
What would be the point of that? Someone's going to make an account.
You're talking about like 11-year-old Sasha stands, man. I don't know what they do. I don't know what the kids do with their accounts these days.
All right, point is, we're going to call that an exclusive.
Let's do that.
Is what we're going to call that. So we'll get to that later, but I guess we got to do this Vince, this fucking guy, huh?
This fucking guy in this fucking company, man. Oh my God. All right. So I was howling when I saw this news. I mean, this is just the most incredible shit from one of the most incredibly weird, odd, strange, terrible human beings ever. He's fucking back. So here's from the PR Newswire from the desk of Vince McMahon as well. It literally says news provided by, and then there's a link of who the author is, and the author is Vince McMahon. It's incredible. I love it. So here we go. The headline is Vince McMahon takes actions in support of plan for WWE to undertake a review of strategic alternatives and capture unique opportunity to maximize long-term value for all shareholders. What does that mean? Okay, well, let me read the exact report here. Vince McMahon, the founder and controlling shareholder of World Wrestling Entertainment, announced today that he has taken the necessary actions to position the company to capitalize on a unique opportunity to maximize long-term value for all WWE shareholders. The actions communicated to the WWE Board of Directors today via written consent include the election to the board of Mr. McMahon, as well as Michelle Wilson and George Barrios, former WWE co-presidents and board members, and currently the co-founders and co-CEOs of Isos Capital Management. Also, the requisite removal from the board of 3 directors. Mr. McMahon expects to assume the role of executive chairman of the board. So I'll go through the rest of this thing, but there's the money stuff is right there. The big stuff's in this lead here. Vince McMahon, who, if you listen to this show, because we're not afraid to have big boy conversations on this show. We're not afraid to get serious and do adult wrestling conversations on this show. If you listen to this show, we told you when all this stuff was going down and everybody was saying, I wonder what's going to happen post Vince McMahon. How's this company going to look without Vince McMahon? Or, oh, Paul Levesque's taking over now. He's going to do some changes. And Stephanie, we told you, right, that Frank A. Riddick, who I think got moved to president, he had the quote that essentially just said that Vince McMahon still controls this company. Vince McMahon is still the controlling shareholder, and no matter what happens, he is going to be the guy that makes it happen. If we're sold, if we do a TV rights deal, if he decides to take over again, whatever it's going to be, he is going to be the guy because he still has the controlling interest, and he can do whatever the fuck he wants still. Is essentially what Frank A. Riddick said. And everybody was just ready to go, okay, well, how's this going to look like without it? He's fucking back because he wants to be back. And we knew that a couple weeks ago when he started putting it out there that he's annoyed that he had to resign and that he was annoyed that they put him to back and he thought everything was going to blow away. And this is still his fucking company. And it was always his fucking company. And he was going to come back at some point in some way, in some form or fashion. And the fact that it took this long is maybe a little surprising, but also just the gall of which he takes back over is just, it's wild. We'll talk about it a lot, but to not only take over, but then to appoint Michelle Wilson, George Barrios, former WWE co-presidents and board members back into the board, and then the removal, and this is the most interesting part, I think, the removal from the board of 3 directors. At this time, those 3 directors are not named, but we can maybe speculate a little bit.
That's when it'll get real spicy.
Yes. If
it's his own family. And, well,
because there's 3 board members that work for that company. The other board members are, this guy works for, Sprint, this guy works for this company and that. They're just, random voting board members. You know what I mean? They're not the 3 board members that work for World Wrestling Entertainment are Nick Khan, Paul Levesque, and Stephanie McMahon.
Yeah. And I mean, that would be the funniest outcome. Because I look at all this like this is just entertainment to me.
Oh, it's clown college. And this company has been clown college for decades.
And, it just, there were whispers that he was sticking his beak back in. And then the report came out, I don't know, about a month ago that he said he regret leaving and he got bad advice, what you alluded to. But all along, he always had the voting the amount of, he had the majority of the, he had the, what's the term looking for?
He was just the majority shareholder. I mean, he was the term that they used,
Class B stocks and
controlling shareholder, the founder and controlling shareholder of World Wrestling Entertainment was Vince McMahon. It was always Vince McMahon. It was Vince McMahon when he retired. It was Vince McMahon when it was always Vince McMahon was always the controlling shareholder.
But he still needed to get control of the board. And the only way for him to do that is to get rid of the people who will vote against him and bring in his puppets. And Wilson and Barrios, I mean, this was a twist. I mean, he fired these people.
Yes.
They are basically the new Stooges. They are the new Patterson and Briscoe. They're just, he's just bringing them back because they're going to vote his way.
I hope George Barrios, hello, Mr. McMahon.
Yeah, with the forehead. And he's like,
it's the forehead. The forehead, and he has the goatee now. Have you seen him with the goatee?
With the Beavis and Butthead forehead.
His goatee.
And
man has a goatee. Man grew a goatee in 2022.
And Wilson with her network Groupons. She's gonna, yeah. Or buy one get one for the network.
Yes, if you don't know, these two people were mostly the spearheads of the WWE Network. Yeah. Big spearheads of the WWE Network. And for a little bit of background, essentially when Nick Khan started gaining some more power in WWE, little by little started to maybe convince McMahon, hey, you know what, this WWE Network was kind of a disaster. This thing didn't really work. Let's get out of here. Let's do a deal with Peacock. Let's just get that bag of money. And when that was done, then he said, hey, these fuckers told you to do the WWE Network, and they fucked up. And Vince said, yeah, you're right, and got rid of them.
Yeah.
But now Vince is realizing that, well, maybe that guy wasn't my friend like I thought he was.
Well, again, this story broke today. But there was speculation very early on that it may have been somebody in Vince's inner circle who leaked the original story that he paid off the first lady.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So
yeah, if you want to put your tinfoil hat or whatever on or whatever, I mean, it can get real weird here, real messy and real interesting.
Yeah. So what if that turns out to be true and it was Paul Levesque or whoever that leaked that story, knowing that he would end up, usurping power in the end. And now Vince, who Rich is, he's not exactly immune to hostile takeovers and predatory business moves. And now Vince maybe caught a whiff of this or has been biding his time and has decided to, wrest the power back. And the fact is, he's not just putting in 2 puppets to replace 3 board members who, he feels like aren't going to play his game. But he's also threatening Rich to not approve of any new media rights deals unless this plan all comes together for him. Like he flat out threatened to not approve the new media rights deals.
Right. That was in the Wall Street Journal, then followed up after this PR Newswire thing and essentially said that Vince McMahon expressed that unless he has direct involvement as executive chairman, he will not support or approve any media rights deals. So he has that company by the balls. Like he always did, because it's his fucking company. But now he's really got him by the balls.
He had to get board members in there that are puppets, though. That was the key to this.
Yep.
And who knew it'd be these 2 clowns?
With Barrios in his fucking forehead.
Unbelievable.
He's got the hat with the pinwheel hat or whatever on top of his giant forehead.
I'm trying to imagine that phone call. Barrios, it's Vince McMahon. How are the bowling alleys doing?
How you doing, pal? How are you?
Yeah. How's the bowling alley doing? How's the bowling alley business doing? Weren't Barrios and Wilson getting into like didn't they get hired by some
bowling alleys?
Yeah, they got hired by some bowling alley chain or something.
Yeah.
Like some Brunswick bowling or some shit. I don't know.
So Brunswick owns a lot of things. I would hope that they weren't getting into the bowling alley industry. Maybe they were, yeah.
I think much like Paul Orndorff in 1986 when he left the wrestling the first time, they bought a bowling alley. It was something like that. There's something going on with them. I like
bowling, for the record. I just don't know if it's a great business to get into right now. But hey, I love bowling, so I'm down.
I think the Michelle Wilson buy one get ones probably work better in the bowling alley business, right? You bowl one game, get a second game free.
Sure, sounds great. Yeah.
Rent one pair of shoes, get a second pair of shoes free.
$10 in free tokens at the arcade.
Right. Tokens to the arcade that still has like a Mortal Kombat 2 machine.
Killer Instinct,
where one side doesn't work anymore and like Bubble Bobble or something, right? Or some janky pinball machine or something. Yeah, like that would work. That's where they went. They went to they were heading up some bowling alley company or something, I think. So he brings them back there, and now he'll presumably, he thinks he'll have the voting power and he's just flat out putting threats out there. I mean, this is surreal. This is a crazy, crazy story. And I love the fact that he puts out his own press release that says from Vince McMahon.
From Vince McMahon.
Yes.
The byline is by Vince McMahon. By, then you go to the next line, Vince McMahon. It's just
Does it have the bios of Barrios and Wilson? Maybe it talks about the bowling.
I will check. It does have bios. Let me do a quick check there to see.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure they stuck together and they were heading up some bowling alley corporation or some shit. Which, you know, for all I know, maybe it was some great company. I don't know. I don't know.
Let's see, George Barrios. I can't believe I'm doing this. Now, do we know it? Did you make this up, this bowling thing, or am I going to actually have to look at this? Okay.
I didn't make it up.
All right. So, okay, here we go. Okay. So previously, Michelle served as the chief marketing officer of the United States Tennis Association, oversaw all marketing efforts for the launch of the XFL. That went great. A partnership between WWE and NBC, and held consumer products and brand management positions at the NBA and Nabisco. She received her MBA from Harvard Business School and currently serves on the boards of the Bolero Corporation and Turtle Beach. So Bolero, do you know what Bolero is? Have you seen a Bolero ever?
No.
Okay. That's how do I describe Bolero? It's like they try to make bowling cool type of thing, but not in the way that like Cosmic Bowling tried to make bowling cool.
Yeah.
This is like, we got like top shelf liquor and like loud music and that sort of thing, where Cosmic Bowling was like, hey, and you and your 9-year-old friends are gonna like lasers and glow in the dark balls or whatever. This is like, oh, you and your 29-year-old friends are gonna like daiquiris and mai tais and stuff like that, and loud music and hot attractive waitresses, and you know what I mean, like that's what Bolero's kind of going for.
So that's where they went. Bolero.
Well, she just serves on the board of Bolero. I don't know, she's not like, I don't think she's like the heading. She's not the CEO of Bolero.
Well, I would like an apology because clearly
you were right.
My bowling information was correct, and but now they're back. The Stooges are back, and
Mr. McMahon. I like Stooges or clowns. What are we going to go with our official one? We want to go Stooges. I like, because they are literally Briscoe and Patterson.
Yeah, they're the new Stooges.
Like absolutely. The Mr. McMahon character walks in and, you know, Gerald Briscoe, a.k.a. George Barrios, like, here you go, Mr. McMahon. Here's your coffee. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
That's Barrios.
Yeah.
It's forehead.
You know.
He's back.
He's back. Like, no shit. We have a record numbers of people listening to this live show. And this doesn't exactly mirror the coverage like WrestleNomics is about to do on this. I can promise that.
They're probably going to do it better, but that's all right. Because I can't, like, a lot of people are going to be like, all right, now we have to discuss this. Like, you know, I just find it fucking hilarious in all, because it's like this company, you played it in the intro there. I fucking hate this company. You know what I mean? I think this company is an absolute joke. And we knew this was he was gonna come back at some point. We knew he was gonna come back at some point. It was just a matter of when and how, because he was still the controlling shareholder. He was always going to be involved in some way, shape, or form, whether they made a TV rights deal, whether they sold, no matter what they did, he was going to be a part of that. And some people are going to have those really solemn conversations about, oh, well, the new talents that have just, you know, re-signed. What must they be thinking? Well, I don't know, man. You signed up for Vince McMahon's company. You signed up for Vince McMahon's controlling shareholder company. So I'm sorry, I don't feel that bad for you. You know what I mean? Like, yes, Unky Paul called you and said, hey, I want to bring you back or whatever. And you said, okay, great. Yeah. Well, now it's not Unky Paul's company, because it never fucking was Unky Paul's company. It was never Stephanie McMahon's company. It was never Nick Khan's company. It was never Frank A. Riddick's company. It was always Vince McMahon's company. So I'm sorry. You signed up to work for Vince McMahon's company again. And now it's Vince McMahon's company in all way, shape, and form again. So I'm sorry. You knew what you had and you did it anyway. So, yeah, you know, a lot of people are going to have those kind of, oh man, well, what's going to happen to, well, they're probably going to get fucking fired. You know, director of lore, that guy better update his resume today. Director of lore, that dude. If he's not making calls already, if he's not on LinkedIn, if he hasn't signed to his LinkedIn tonight, he might want to do that very soon.
Well, we've buried the lead. I mean, all of these moves were because Vince wants to sell it. Like, the end game here is to sell it.
See, I don't know. I really still don't know about that.
Wall Street Journal report says.
I still don't think so. I don't know.
You take it up with the Wall Street Journal.
No, they're probably right, but I don't know that they've never covered of Vince McMahon. They're trying, and they're doing better than almost everybody else. Well, really, they're doing better than everybody else. I don't know that he's trying to sell.
Well, then what's your theory here?
I think he's just fucking Vince McMahon.
Then where'd they get the scoop that he wants to ultimately sell?
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe that's what he said. I think he's trying to maybe put that out in the wild that he wants to sell, and that's why he's doing these moves, because he believes he's the best representative of the company, and this will be his company, and if they say, it'll be because he's in charge and he's the one making the decisions, and they know that he's the guy that created this thing. So I don't know.
Is he driving up the stock?
Yeah,
by saying
he already is, and he already has. I mean, he's smart enough to know that. Here's the thing with Vince McMahon and selling is, maybe he got a taste of whatever the life was over the last 6 months and said, you know what, that's not too bad. Let me get in there. Let me sell this thing. Let me make a shit ton of money and I'll be good to go. But he could have done that anyway, right? Maybe he could have done that sitting at home eating his steak wraps.
I still think he needed the control, right? He still needed to usurp the control back with the board in order to do that, right?
Well, I'm saying if they wanted to sell, but you're saying that maybe he got a whiff that those guys weren't trying to sell.
Yeah, what I'm saying is maybe he's doing this maybe he is going to sell it like out of spite, or maybe he's annoyed. I mean, this is the earliest stages of this. We still don't know what his motivations are. We still don't know who these 3 board members are that are going to be out.
Well, here's the other thing too, and this is a quote from that PR Newswire, and this is why the Wall Street Journal has said that. But if you read this is the quote from Mr. McMahon that he self-quoted in this PR Newswire thing. It says, quote, WWE is entering a critical juncture in its history with the upcoming media rights negotiations coinciding with the increased industry-wide demand for quality content and live events, and with more companies seeking to own the intellectual property on their platforms. The only way for WWE to fully capitalize on this opportunity is for me to return as executive chairman and support the management team in the negotiation for our media rights, and to combine that with a review of strategic alternatives. My return will allow WWE, as well as any transaction counterparties, to engage in these processes, knowing they will have the support of the controlling shareholder. Now,
you don't read that as wanting to sell, because I
read that as wanting to get another media rights deal.
Yeah, but he says and other strategic alternatives.
Yeah. I still, until I hear the report that Vince McMahon has sold this company, I will not believe that he's going to sell this company. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I am, knowing this guy, I just think he's bitter and annoyed that Nick Khan forced him out, that whatever the hell happened, his daughter and his son-in-law supported him leaving, and is pissed about that, and just thinks he could probably walk back in and take over again. And I don't know. That's my theory on this thing. I still don't think he's trying to sell this thing. And maybe I'm wrong, and maybe I'll be wrong, but I don't know. I think he's just annoyed that he got shoved out of his company, and he's pissed about it. And he came back.
Well, yeah,
and now he's back.
That's clear. That part's clearly the case. That he feels like he got bad advice and was pushed out, and has figured out a way to throw his weight around and get back in. Look, I'm no expert in these sort of matters, but it doesn't look like he can really be stopped at this point.
No.
So, and then at that point, if he wants to sell, he can sell. I mean, we've been saying that from the start, though. If he wanted to sell, he could find a way to sell. And it looks like he may have. So, what does this mean for the people in charge now? Well, we don't know until we find out who these 3 board members are that he's ousting. That's really the key to the rest of all of this. Finding out who the 3 board members are that he's kicking out the door. That's, if it does turn out to be his family and Nick Khan, or some combination of those people, this gets real juicy. And obviously that's what we're hoping for, because that's the funnest outcome here. That's like the most entertaining outcome is Levesque, Stephanie, and Nick Khan are out. And Vince comes swagger walking back into the picture with the Stooges, and takes control of this thing in all forms again. And the chaos that will ensue. I mean, that's what I want. That's me rooting for the most possible chaos on the last day of the NFL season, or rooting for absolute chaos in the college football playoff race. That's what this is to me. that would be the best outcome for this podcast, for just wackiness in general in the wrestling world. So that's what I'm rooting for.
Maybe I don't want him to sell because personally I want that chaos. You know what I mean? Like I love the idea of, in 2 weeks, everyone's at the building for Raw and all of a sudden, boom, here the door opens and there's Vince. Sits down, puts the headset on. Hey, Bruce, how's it going? All right, let's do this. You know what I mean? Like that. I love the idea of that. I love the idea of that just because it's just pure chaos. And it's just the clown college that this company is and what this clown college that this company has been for as long as it's been. And I have seen some people, and there are people talking in the No Dope chat room right now about like, well, shareholders aren't going to stand for this and advertisers are going to stand for this. And they will. The price just went up. The price just went up.
Yeah, the stock went up.
They don't care. They didn't force him out the first time.
They don't.
I hate to tell you, it's capitalism, man. They don't care. He's going to make everybody a lot of money. They don't give a shit.
Yeah, it's
should they? Probably. They didn't give a shit for 3 decades.
Yeah.
USA Network, trust me, USA Network doesn't give a shit. Without WWE, they're nothing. Without WWE, that company, that channel. I think Meltzer talked about it the other day, averages, 400,000 viewers a day.
What is it? They drop all the way to 16th or something?
Something like that. They fall off the radar in terms of a major cable network. Yeah. Immediately.
Yeah.
They don't care.
Yeah, they don't care.
They don't give a shit.
No. Yeah, I mean, the wrestlers seem happier with him gone for the most part.
Sure they do.
Oh man,
there's a lot of I don't know if you saw the report Sean Ross Sapp had, where he had talked to a few people backstage and a few executives and a few recently rehired talents, and it doesn't they're like, he can't do this, can he? And it's like, yeah, he can. It's like,
he did it.
Surely he can't do this.
Doing it right now. What do you mean? That's crazy. I mean, just the fact that he would block the new media rights deals. Man, he's holding the company hostage.
Right. And he always could. The Frank A. Riddick quote that I had, I want to bring that up again, was, and this was, we mentioned this when it happened at the quarterly calls when people asked about Vince McMahon, and we, because we're not afraid to have big boy wrestling conversations on this show. A lot of other shows are, and they're gonna skirt around this or avoid it altogether. Frank A. Riddick said, quote, Vince McMahon can effectively exercise control over our affairs.
Yeah, that's right there.
It's right there. It's him. That's the president saying, well, yeah, because somebody was saying, oh, well, somebody was asking him a question about, well, what's going to change in this? And he essentially just kind of stopped him and said, look, whatever Vince wants to do is what we're going to do. Like, we can't do anything.
Yeah.
We can't make any decisions without Vince. So this idea that what do we do after Vince? There's no after Vince. He's still here. Yeah. And some people theorize that maybe he was still there in terms of the creative in a lot of ways. Things felt Vincian for a while.
I just think his statement, especially by Vince standards, points to I cannot get past the line of, with the review of strategic alternatives. That's not the way Vince talks. You know what I mean? That addendum at the end of that, after he says, the only way for WWE to fully capitalize on this opportunity is for me to return as executive chairman and support the management team in the negotiations for our media rights, and to combine that with the review of strategic alternatives. What alternatives could that be other than selling? That's what he's talking about. And then he says, my return will allow WWE, as well as any transaction counterparties, to engage in these processes. I mean, that lines up with the Wall Street Journal reporting to me. I feel like that's the hint that he's dropping there.
Well, and there's also the line too, and this one is upcoming media rights negotiations coinciding with the increased industry-wide demand for quality content and live events, and with more companies seeking to own the intellectual property on their platforms. Yeah, that is that is the one line that does make me think that you might be right or that the Wall Street Journal might be right. I just can't believe it because I think it's Vince McMahon, and I think this is his company, and it's always been his company, and he's pissed that it wasn't his company for a little while, and he wants to take it back. But he might be doing that same thing and saying, hey, this is my goddamn company, and I'm going to be the one that sells it. Nick Khan is not selling my company.
The only other
Nick
reason
Khan's not selling my dad's company. You know what I mean? This is my thing, not yours.
Yeah, well, the only other reason he would throw in lines like that would be to juice up the stock. Because the stock's going to go up if people think they're going to sell.
Right. And it did. Yeah. And that's exactly why the stock went up.
So either way, whether he's just trying to juice the stock or whether he fully intends on taking control with the intent to then potentially selling the company, that's the reason he threw those lines into his statement. That's what I'm saying. And that's what I was trying to say before. Because when you read between the lines there, or just read it in black and white, that's not the way Vince talks if he just wanted to seize control back of this company because he wants to run it and get back in gorilla position and have full control of everything like he used to. I feel like this would have been worded a lot differently with the Vince bravado and straightforwardness that we're used to. And that's not what we got here. We got these little weird lines that indicate that there might be something else coming down once he moves forward with this plan to take control. And if you combine that with the reporting that the Wall Street Journal did, where they flat out say he intends to sell. I mean, that was their lead, if I'm not mistaken, that he intends on returning and then selling the company. I feel like he's telling us that, right, in his statement. So then what? He sells it to whoever the fuck. NBC would probably be, NBC Universal would have to be one of the leading candidates, right? So they can retain all that shit. Instead of paying $500 million, instead of paying this company billions and billions of dollars over the years in rights fees, why not just buy it outright?
Right. Just give him $3 million or whatever now and then own it forever.
Well, $3 million, that'd be a hell of a deal.
$3 billion. $3 billion, I said. $3 billion.
Yeah.
I said.
So, but exactly. Like, just, you buy it outright and then you own it, and then you don't have to, so it makes more sense at that point once these deals get to that size. So maybe that's what he's looking at. He's almost 80 years old. And especially if he feels like the people close to him fucked him over here. That whole bad advice thing. I don't think people are reading into that enough. He might mean that, like, the people close to him intentionally gave him bad advice.
Oh, I think so. And if you remember when we read that quote, that's what our read on it was. And he even said people, I forget the exact wording, but it wasn't people close to him. It was like the people closest to me or something like that. You know what I mean? The way it was. Let me see if I can find exactly what that was. But we at the time when we said that a month ago, we were like, that sounds like he's talking about his family or he's talking about Nick Khan, one or the other. That, like, the people, like, it wasn't like some crisis management, company came in and were like, Vince, we recommend that you resign. And he would, he wouldn't give a shit what those people said. He wouldn't care.
I think a lot of people took it that way.
Yeah,
I think a lot of people took that as people close to him said, you better just resign. No, I feel like he was saying he was duped into retiring is what I feel like he was saying with that report. So, this is him charging back in, and maybe he just partly out of spite, partly out of he's the ultimate control freak. We all know that. Partly out of just it's time because of his age, and maybe this time away he's realized what it does feel good to relax. And maybe for all those reasons,
I can't believe the relax thing. I mean, that's just never been.
Well, he's almost 80.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, time waits for no man. I mean, it catches up to everyone eventually. And, I'm just speculating like everybody else, but I don't know. He's running around with that fucking 50-year-old woman or whatever. That's 30 years younger than him. He's living it up.
Making him feel old, you think?
Making him feel young again. Like,
yeah,
like I could just, hang out with her and fucking. Who did he get caught going to dinner with? Oh, Cena, right? Didn't Cena take him out for his birthday or something?
Yeah.
He's like, I could take my girl out. I go have dinner with Cena and fucking McAfee. And I don't have to worry. I could sell this shit and, wipe my hands of it. And none of these people who backstabbed me are going to have control of my thing. Maybe that's his mindset. I'm going to have control of it. If someone's going to kill it, I'm killing it.
Right. Some way or another, it's spite. It is also the Vince McMahon bringing the NWO into WWF story where, I'm going to inject a lethal poison. I'm going to be the one that kills my own creation or whatever. It's that living life. It's that in reality. I think one way or another, he's going to be the guy leading the ship when it goes down or when it gets sold or whatever. And that's where I don't know. I can't buy a sell just because this guy has been such a workaholic, but you're right. Maybe it is like he got those 6 months off and he just said, you know what? Fine. Who cares? I don't care anymore. But I'm going to sell this thing. I'm going to ultimately get that bag. And these people that turned their back on me, that told me, that gave me bad advice, that ruined me and ruined my empire and ruined my reputation, all that sort of stuff. I'm not going to let them have the opportunity to do this. I'm going to take back over, and they're off the board. And they're, so yeah, I maybe, I don't know. It's something, it's a hang up that I have, that I will not believe that Vince McMahon is actively trying to sell this company pretty much until I see the report that he sold the company, and it's just always been the way I've been, but things have changed. Things have obviously changed in the last 6 months. So yeah, we might be getting there. And as I'm reading these quotes a little bit more, I am starting to see your way a little bit, but I still ultimately think that I think more than anything, he's just trying to take over again and then figure out the rest later and figure out what the next step is after that. And maybe that is entering into negotiations, and maybe what if he doesn't get a deal that he likes? What if he doesn't see something then what's next after that?
Well, the obvious message board move here for Tony Khan would be to make the call and buy this thing and then shut it down.
He called Shad right about that. He had to have.
Man, don't listen. Don't threaten yourself with a good time, Joe.
Ultimately, that wouldn't be as much as funny as it would be. Ultimately, that would not be good for the wrestling industry. I don't think. I would rather NBC just give them $1 billion and take it over. But yeah, I mean,
see TK come down the ramp on Raw to shake hands with Vince. Shuts it down. Oh man.
You think William Regal's going to do the Costanza thing? Just show up to the where's Rampage this Friday?
You think Vince will come in and just refire all the people that were rehired?
I hope he does. Like I said, director of lore. Can you imagine when Vince sits down back at his desk, he cleans it off first off because he's got a bunch of shit all over it. And he looks, he goes, director of lore? Are you kidding me? That man will be so fired so quick. That man is going to have to put all of his belongings in a box-like structure so quickly to get the fuck out of there. Once he finds out they have an Uncle Howdy that Bray's back, and there's something called an Uncle Howdy running around on his television. See, here's the thing. You're probably right.
You said put his belongings in a box-like structure and hit the bricks.
Director of lore.
Oh my God.
That guy should just not show up, right? He should just say, you know what?
Hold on. What does that guy do?
I don't know.
Bray Wyatt doesn't do anything. Bray Wyatt has come back to the company.
He's writing the lore.
Nothing.
He's writing the lore. He's got to catalog the lore.
There's no lore.
He's writing it, and then he's cataloging it. He's directing it. The lore.
All Bray has done is had promos with L.A. Knight and gotten Sister Abigailed by Captain Howdy or whatever the fuck his name is. He's done nothing else. What does this guy do? What are they paying him to write? That they never do anything with that story. Nothing ever happens. I don't understand what that guy's job even is. What is he writing? Bray literally never does anything.
So I could see that you're right that he's going to try to, but I bet when Vince McMahon gets back into that building, even if he then he starts seeing these names and starts saying this guy out of here, this guy, I think he's going to get excited again.
He's not going to remember he fired him.
Right.
Excellent question. Excellent question, Shelton. He's not going to remember.
He's not going to remember any of those guys. Hey, Jonah, how's it going, pal? Yeah, he does. He has no fucking clue who Jonah is.
Why haven't we had Jimmy Wayne Yang on TV? Well, you fired him 6 months ago, Vince. He doesn't know. He doesn't know who Bronson Reed is.
Yeah.
He doesn't know.
Does he know who John Gargano is? Where,
He might remember sending him back packing the NXT.
right. When Johnny walks up in his fucking Mickey Mouse shirt or whatever, he's just like, get out.
Yeah. You don't know what's going
With this
on.
Mandalorian shirt. Hey, Vince. How's it going? Welcome back.
His Mandalorian shirt.
This is the most ridiculous thing. What the fuck? Vince gets back. What the hell? Oh my god. All right. I don't know, man. It's Paul.
Come on, it's fun. It's fun.
I love it.
I think it's great. I don't know. I think it's a lot of fun.
I was howling. I was at work reading this and just this howl. I was just laughing out loud to myself. Just I couldn't stop. I had to go to the bathroom and just I was in the stall just laughing, just giggling.
It's
and Paul, Uncle Paul, just seeing like, oh, damn it.
What's the boring outcome? The boring outcome is Vince just comes back, leaves Triple H in the creative role. But can he remain hands off like that if he wants to just come back and
no.
See, that's the thing. See, I don't know. And then if they, is he gonna stay in control when they sell? Is he gonna be?
Well, and that I think it was Chris Sampson in the chat room that said that perhaps that Vince is going to say, hey, I'm going to be in charge of this sale and I'm putting in something that says that I need to still be a part of this company even post sale.
Yeah.
Whether that's in whatever capacity that might be in. Whereas if I wasn't in control of the board and chairman of the board or whatever, those guys could sell without any prerequisites or any sort of things involving me. I would just be getting the money and the part of whatever percentage, and then they're done with me, and then I'm done. And my creation is done forever. Once they sell and I get my check, I'm done and I'm out of this thing forever. Whereas if he's in charge, maybe he says, hey, yeah, we'll sell, but I need to be in charge of X, Y, and Z, or I want to be in charge of X or whatever. I need to still have this. If he still has that hunger and still has that desire to work, which I will never believe that Vince McMahon doesn't. The guy didn't take a day off or rest for 40 years. So I don't know that 6 months was enough time for him to just decide, you know what, working's stupid. Who cares? Like I don't know. Maybe, but I have a tough time believing it.
Well, I've got news for you. You have been ousted from the board. I'm bringing back Rob McCarran. I'm gonna have full voting power, and I have the intent to sell. And if you don't agree, then I will vote no.
Please sell.
I will vote no on all of our future content distribution rights deals. I know our deal's coming up shortly with the Red Circle, and I will block all such deals, and unless I am given back full control of the VOW brand. So I figured I'd let you know that now.
That's fine. No, that sounds all good. That sounds good to me.
Live on the air.
Will I get any of that? Will I get any of that paper when you sell? I forget if you said I was still going to get money or not.
No, you're just out. You've been ousted.
Oh, I don't want to do that. Then that sucks.
You've been ousted. So that's
away.
That's end for you. You and Paul Levesque will be looking for work very shortly. Based on Levesque's booking, he's gonna have trouble finding work. But I think you'll do okay. I think you will.
I'll land on my feet somewhere. So
you will land on your feet. Yes. Yeah, I cannot wait to see where this goes.
It's not gonna not be interesting. I mean, every day is gonna have some twist and turn at this point.
Why did he do it on a Friday?
I don't know.
Oh, it's Thursday.
It's Thursday, but I don't know.
Well, all right, never mind. He didn't do it on a Friday.
He did it on a Thursday afternoon. Yeah, I don't know if is that a good time for these sort of things.
Wrestle Kingdom. I don't know what day it is this week.
I've lost all track of time, and who knows?
So, I made that pork butt yesterday, and it feels like I made it 6 days ago.
Right.
So I don't know what day it is. Anyway, let's talk about some actual wrestling. How about we do that?
Let's do that. Yeah. So that's the Vince stuff. Obviously, we'll stay abreast of that on this show. But this is fucking it's tremendous stuff. All right, let's talk about Wrestle Kingdom 17. As I said, we did an instant reaction live for that immediately following the show, so you can go and listen to that if you want a match-by-match breakdown of the show done immediately afterwards. That is at flagshippatreon.com, $10 tier for that instant reaction live. But now a couple of days after, we've had the opportunity to kind of sleep on some of the stuff, like we did that show immediately afterwards. Did you end up going back, because you talked about on that show how you wanted to go back and watch Okada and Jay White? Did you have a chance to do that yet?
Yeah, I did.
And did it improve? Same? Where'd the match do for you upon second rewatch, and outside of the context of Omega and Ospreay, not, just in without any of the idea of what else was going on or what it had to follow or whatever? How was it just completely out of context?
Yeah, it's a great match. And I had a feeling it would be. It kind of won me over by the end anyway. But just coming off the buzz of one of the greatest matches I've ever seen in my life, it was really hard to get into a Jay White style of match. And, by the end of it, though, I think that, it turned out to be a really great match and was pretty easily the second best match on the show. So I thought Okada in particular was really, really great in the match. Jay White was very good. He always is. I mean, the knock on Jay White is never his work, and it's never the thought that he puts into the psychology of his matches, because he's very good at that as well. It's just sometimes those matches and those stories don't land. It's just a little too boring. But Okada really was excellent in the match. I thought it was, it wasn't one of his best matches, but it was one of his best performances, if that makes sense. And I really feel like that he had a little bit of extra motivation, like we talked about, knowing what the two guys before him had just done. Two guys that he's intimately familiar with working with and knows very well. And he knew that he didn't want to get upstaged on this show, working the main event spot, representing Inoki, representing New Japan, representing the IWGP title and all those things, by winning the match. And I thought his performance really was super. He really was really good. And Jay White, and then the odd post-match stuff with Jay White, which we kind of saw the continuation of that at New Year Dash, where he challenges Hikuleo to the loser leave town match. So that's going to ramp up speculation again as to not whether or not Jay White's on his way out. To answer your question, though, that's the long version. It was an excellent match on the rewatch. Yeah. And
I think we both kind of, like you're saying, when we did the instant reaction live, I think we both kind of came to that conclusion as well. As while the first part of the match was a little bogged down by like, oh man, like why they're not gonna be able to follow this, they're not gonna be able to follow Ospreay and Omega. How are they gonna do this? How are they gonna do this? How are they gonna do this? And ultimately, at the end of the match, like I think you and I both were like, yeah, that was pretty damn great, but it'd probably be even better if we just watched it without the cloud hanging over the first half of the match of how they're going to follow, Who cares how they're going to follow? Just watch it out of context and see how that goes. And yeah, that would make it, that would totally make it come across much better. I've not had a chance to watch it yet. I will do that hopefully in the next couple of days. But I've heard similar things from people that said they were just like in the morning of, it was just kind of like, you were done after Omega and Ospreay. You know what I mean? Like you were just like, well, that's it. That's as good as it's going to get. I'm going to have a tough time. But they did get you in towards the end. They did definitely get you in towards the end. But I would like to
watching it back. It was a fully cohesive match when I watched it the second time too.
You're not thinking in your head, oh geez, how they're going to follow.
No, it's like not even that. It's just the way it was paced, trying to follow that thing that happened before it. On top of the fact that it's 6:00 in the morning, on top of the fact that you're buzzing from how great the other match was, on top of the fact that you're in 19 different group chats still talking about what you just watched and not really fully paying attention to the match that's on the screen, it was just really impossible to focus on the first 15 minutes or so of Okada Jay White in real time, being bleary-eyed and half asleep and seeing what other people think of the other match. And it's just, I don't know. I watched it in the middle of the day with a fresh set of eyes, and it really was a great match.
Yeah. I'd like to do that too, because also with doing what we do, is Okada hit the 1, 2, 3, and I got up immediately and ran to my computer to start the Insurrection Live. So it's like I didn't even let that settle in. You know what I mean? And that I didn't watch any promo. It was like 1, 2, 3, boom. Okay, I got to go because I got to get, do this instant reaction and go to work. So I was rushed the entire time. And the entire match, I'm waiting for it to end, knowing that, hey, we're going to go and do this podcast. And then I got to go to work and then start my whole day or whatever. So there was always that cloud for me hanging over it too, where I couldn't let myself fully enjoy it. I was just like waiting for it to end. Not necessarily because I thought the match was bad, but because I was like, then I have stuff to do after this. You know what I mean? So let it's 6 a.m. Let's go. Let's get this done. Okay, cool. We're done. And then let me do the show and then start my day basically. So yeah, I will definitely have to go back and check it out. But ultimately I thought it was still solid and even in the day, even the morning of.
So before you move on from that match, Fightful is reporting that WWE is hot for Hikuleo, which,
okay.
So, that gives, so obviously if that's the case and there's mutual interest, then he would lose the loser leave town match. And that also makes a lot of sense for New Japan's story, because if you remember when Hikuleo turned against the Bullet Club, he turned against Jay White. So when Jay White attacked him at New Year Dash and challenged him to the loser leave town, it made New Japan's storylines all make sense, because Jay White ranting, it's your fault I lost the title, because Jay White's a delusional psychopath heel. And, now he wants to get his revenge on Hikuleo for turning on him and for, in his mind, costing him the title. So they will have this loser leaves town match. So it's basically loser goes to WWE, right? Because I feel like people have been connecting Jay White to WWE for years at this point, and he's real cagey about his contract and, the whole dispute. Did he sign the 7-year deal? Did he not sign the 7-year deal 2 years ago or whatever it was? And now with WWE hot for the guy, for Hikuleo, then yeah, now it looks like Jay White would be the favorite to win that match, as opposed to possibly being the favorite to lose it.
Right. Maybe they're trying, and maybe that's smart by New Japan to make everybody think, oh man, Jay White's going to lose and he's going to leave or whatever. Where in fact maybe it's Hikuleo that's the one that's going to lose. So kind of taking you off that scent. That, yeah, I could see that for sure.
Yeah. So, and as far as Hikuleo goes, I mean, obviously, he's really tall, Rich.
Big
the man is tall.
Big man.
And you could see why WWE would have interest in him. He's the kind of guy, though, who his body certainly needs to fill out a bit. And he hasn't improved at the rate that, I mean, we talked about this last week. It's like we're waiting for him to take a step in his development, and he really hasn't. So, I know that New Japan maybe had long-term designs on seeing what they could do with a guy like this. Obviously, a guy that size with the family pedigree and everything. But I could definitely see why WWE would be interested in that. Just on the size that they covet alone. But we'll have to see how all that plays out. But the loser leave town stipulation is certainly making a lot more sense.
Definitely. So that's as far as I know, that's big stuff. It kind of came out of Wrestle Kingdom. New Year Dash. We'll get to the Mercedes stuff in a sec, because I'm gonna combine both of the Mercedes topics here in a bit. New Year Dash had a bunch of stuff go on for New Japan as well. We have some new units. We have a title change, as well as some other programs moving forward. So we'll start off first. Ren Narita ambushed by the House of Torture following his match, and then to the save, Minoru Suzuki and El Desperado come out to save Ren Narita, teasing a bit of a new unit there, at least a new trio for right now. Minoru Suzuki, El Desperado, and Ren Narita. What do you think of that trio? Well,
they left him there. They walked out on him. So they didn't officially form a unit or anything like that. They're setting up a trios title match. That's for sure.
Yes, yeah, trios against House of Torture for sure.
Right, that's happening. They're setting that up. I tried to do a little digging on this, and it doesn't seem like that's going to be a unit, but you never know. But Suzuki has been working All Japan this year, and he has a lot of All Japan dates already set up for the rest of at least the imminent future in 2023. And he has already formed a new unit in All Japan with Hokuto Omori and Naruki Doi, of all people. And I don't know if you watch the All Japan shows. We're going to talk about him later. But he's got a lot of All Japan bookings coming up too. So at best, he's going to be splitting his time between All Japan and New Japan. So I don't even know necessarily if Suzuki is going to be forming a new unit in New Japan because he might not be around enough to warrant it. But for now, this is a match that makes sense. Despy came out and made the save, and the commentators made the point, like, look, just because they're not in a unit together anymore doesn't mean they don't get along and they're not friends.
Right.
So that was the motivation explained for Despy to come out and make that save. But,
right. And these guys didn't hold up T-shirts, or I mean, there are other units that have definitely gotten names and received. This might just be kind of a loose union.
No, they cleared the ring. They cleared the ring, and then they had a stare down with Narita, and then they both walked past him and like shoulder bumped him like you would in the hallway in high school. Like all right, we saved you, we're cool with you, but we don't necessarily like you, was kind of the deal. So it was like a soft tease, but they didn't officially form any kind of unit. No, and he has done so in All Japan already, and is booked going forward in All Japan. Suzuki is. So I don't know. We'll see. And as far as the rest of Suzuki Gun, I don't know. I mean, I was told one thing that I put in that report this week concerning some of the contracts, and then I got some information from a different source. All the stuff that I reported from all the earlier this week with the contract season stuff, All Japan, Noah, Dragon Gate, New Japan, all that came from people in the locker rooms. Okay, from sources in the locker rooms. I had some conversations and got some information from another New Japan source that was slightly contradictory to some of the stuff I had in the New Japan section of that, but at the same time couldn't really confirm any of it either. And all I'll say is, if you combine the stuff I got from the locker room, which I'm very confident in because in a lot of cases it's fucking firsthand, and combine some of the stuff I'm getting from, a lot of it lines up in that there's definitely some people in that company but here's the thing about New Japan contracts, and I don't even know why what I wrote caught people off guard. I think people would be very surprised as to how many people work on handshakes there. I didn't know that was going to be shocking to people. I didn't realize that so-and-so doesn't have a contract was something that was going to be salacious or crazy or that was going to blow people's minds, because I'm not sure people realize that that's pretty common. Well,
it's common in it's common in all of wrestling, pretty much, other than, major American companies. And it was common among wrestling for decades, until about, we're still in a new era of ironclad contracts, quote unquote, ironclad contracts or whatever. And that's just not how wrestling has really operated forever, really. Well,
now don't get me wrong. They have contracts in New Japan. They have contracts in Japan, but it's like there's a lot of people who work with the handshake.
Right, not everybody. Some of the people.
Or their contract will run out, and they'll just I'll work the next 5 tours or whatever. We'll deal with it later, and that stuff is fairly common. And it's not like America where you have to be careful to make sure if someone's contract is coming up, you lock them up because it's a wrestling war and the other company is going to swoop in and get them and embarrass you and put the person on TV and all this and that. It's a little different in Japan. Not that guys can't jump or guys can't be wooed by another company, but there's a little more loyalty, and
it's not as cutthroat. It's not as cutthroat.
It's not as cutthroat, and there's a handshake means a little more and things like that. And sometimes guys just work without contracts, and sometimes guys have merchandise contracts, but they don't have talent contracts. There's a lot of situations like that in New Japan that I've learned about that over the last 5 or 6 days, which also causes a lot of confusion. And there's some guys in New Japan who have their own merchandise contracts outside of New Japan, and then might have a contract in New Japan, or it's way more complicated than people think. Okay. And that's all I'll really say about that. But, I'm still working on a lot of stuff with that. But as far as the Suzuki Gun guys go, Zack Sabre Jr., everyone pretty much is under the belief that he's all locked up. And that makes sense because, look, they just put him in charge of a new unit.
Right.
Everyone agrees Suzuki never had a contract. That's never been in dispute. He's always been a freelancer, technically a freelancer. And the other guys, there was one point in time where Kanemaru was the only guy that had a contract in that unit. And that was years ago. And I'm sure, over the years, other guys may have had them, may not have had them. But when they came back from Noah, everything was screwed up because they weren't working for New Japan during that time. They were working for Noah, and they came back, and they may not have necessarily signed contracts when they come back, but that's even going back 5-6 years now. And on top of that, it's now contract season. A lot of these contracts are coming due at the end of January. So even some of these guys who might have had contracts might not have them in 25 days or whatever. So it's January. It's always wild to some extent. Some years are more wild than others, but a lot of these, Suzuki Gun breaking up and a lot of these units starting to settle into new units and the moving parts, a lot of it does have to do with this stuff. And then there's guys that do have to make decisions. And, Cyberfight is being very aggressive now, and they've got a lot of money to throw around. Dragon Gate is being very aggressive and looking at guys from outside their system and who they feel can fit in their system, and are being very aggressive and sending feelers to people and flat out making offers to guys. So, I don't expect a million different people to end up in a million different places. That's just not the nature of Japan, but it wouldn't shock me at all if some relatively big names end up working somewhere new this year. It could absolutely happen. And we're already seeing it with Minoru Suzuki, who is going to be splitting his time at least between All Japan and New Japan, at least in the near future.
And you mentioned the Zack Sabre Jr. thing, and obviously he's taking over a new unit, the TMDK. They add another member to their unit as well. Kosuke Fujita is now a member of TMDK. Mostly now, you do multi-man matches. That guy can take your falls or whatever. So it makes sense.
Now listen, straight as a young lion.
Yeah.
No excursion. What have I been saying for months and months and months?
What have you been guessing, Joe? Your fanfic is right again. Unbelievable.
What have I been saying for months and months and months and months? The directive from the top. Let's go with these guys.
Yes.
Let's stop fucking around and let's put the wheels in motion now. And look, they have been hinting at this relationship for many months because Saber's been doing stuff with this guy in backstage promos and things like that. And yeah, they made it official. They gave him the TMDK shirt. And Sabre was saying you're my young boy now. You don't belong to New Japan. You're my young boy and all this and that. So, Kosei Fujita, part of the frat boy faction. So there you go.
And then the leftovers, the rest of the guys in Suzuki-gun have formed their new unit, Just 4 Guys. Yes, that is their name, Just 4 Guys. It's Taka Michinoku, Dookie, Taichi, and Yoshinobu Kanemaru. They are Just 4 Guys.
Yeah, so
the worst name for a unit maybe ever.
What's interesting is he's got Just Tap Out. He's holding to form.
Just 4 Guys.
The interesting thing is Taka and Taichi are together in this thing, and Dookie's with them. But who's missing? Who's the guy that's missing? Despy, right? Taka, Taichi, Despy. And Dookie is always loosely associated with them too. And that's interesting to me. So I'm just saying that's something to keep an eye on. Am I telling you that means that El Desperado is going to leave New Japan? No, that's not what I'm telling you. And I'm flat out putting that on tape because Rich, you know how this goes. In 6 months, Despy's the junior champion or something, working the majority of the tours, and everybody claims that is going to claim that I said he was leaving. And I've never said that. I didn't write that, and I didn't say it. But
we're still getting shit for you saying that Will Ospreay was leaving to go to NXT UK when you said the opposite.
I said
literally the opposite.
I debunked that.
Right.
The whole point of everything I wrote was to debunk that.
But somehow it is now in Mandela affected into you said he was leaving, so thus you are wrong about everything because that one time you said Will was leaving to go to NXT UK when you said he wasn't leaving.
And I don't want to do the Doth protest too much thing, but it's all still there. Like, go read it.
It's there. FlagshipPatreon.com. FlagshipPatreon.com.
Everything I said was correct. Like, if the benefit of hindsight, go read it. Go read anything I've ever written. I mean, But I just think it's interesting that Taka and Taichi, that Despy's not part of their little thing. What does it mean? I don't know. I don't know. I know what I wrote. That's all.
And then a few other things there. Yo pinned Hiromu kind of to set up a future match between those two. Chris Samsa at the Chris Samsa on Twitter put together a pretty fun list here of future programs and feuds that kind of have come out of these last couple of days, and it kind of sets the stage for what is moving forward in New Japan. And it's a lot of fun stuff. There's a lot of really, really cool, interesting things there. IWGP World Title, obviously Shingo coming out and challenging Okada after Wrestle Kingdom, so you got that set up. U.S. title, Omega and Cobb doing a lot of jaw-jacking back and forth. Omega being pretty obvious about having guys come to America to go for this title. So that's interesting. Obviously, Omega seems like a very big part, and they just released a T-shirt for him and stuff. So if you thought Omega was just jumping in for one show and then bouncing, like, no, he's the champion. They're doing T-shirt. He's a part of a lot of stuff right now in New Japan, so that's pretty cool. TV titles, Zack Sabre Jr. and Ishii. A little stuff going on between those two. Junior title, as I just mentioned there, Yo pinned Hiromu, so Yo probably getting that first title shot. TMDK versus the new champions Bishamon as a possibility for something coming up pretty soon as well. Sorry, go ahead.
They're gonna win those titles, TMDK, because Bishamon was just there to get him off of FTR, and they're gonna.
Are you telling me Goto's gonna lose again? No, no.
And they're gonna want to establish TMDK right off the bat as something meaningful and important. So I would be pretty surprised if they don't beat Bishamon for those titles in short order.
So then elsewhere we have moving down the list, TJP and Akira versus Dookie and Kanemaru as a possibility for that coming up in the next few weeks and months. Tama Tonga and ELP, El Phantasmo for the Never title. Never 6-man, as we mentioned, that House of Torture, Red Narita, El Desperado, Suzuki. That seems like a pretty obvious next step for that. KOPW title, Shingo obviously won that at New Year Dash. I guess I shouldn't say obviously if you didn't know. Shingo won it at New Year Dash, so a little bit weird that he's involved in that still while also getting the title shot, but the IWGP World title shot, but he's doing that. Him and Okan, there seems to be some stuff going on there. Obviously Jay White and Hikuleo, as we mentioned, that seems like an obvious, or very clear next step, and they already have the match booked. And then finally Shota Umino and Tetsuya Naito jaw-jacking back and forth over the last couple days as well. So.
One that's missing there is they appeared to be setting up Will Ospreay versus Taichi after the match today, and I think Shingo proposed to Okada to do King of Pro Wrestling versus the IWGP World. So they might be getting rid of the King of Pro Wrestling.
Thank God. Yeah. So maybe he's the last guy that does it, and then Okada wins it and just says, "This
and then that
stinks. Go away."
And that was something they did during the pandemic, just kind of to spice things up a little with the small roster. So maybe now with the TV title in the mix too, they just kind of see that as a redundant thing, and just an extra title that they don't really need anymore, because there's no way Shingo's beating Okada. So. And I guess even if he did, they're going to merge the belts anyway. So it really doesn't make a difference who wins. But yeah, so that was also something notable to come out of that. And people, they played it up like a big surprise that Will Ospreay was wrestled on New Year Dash. And, he had it looked like he had stitches over his eye, and he was, very angry in the ring and just wrestling very nasty. And then he had the pull apart with Taichi, and he was just putting down Taichi and saying, how dare you step up to greatness, and what I've been through. And then they had this big pull apart. So looks like they're gonna have a singles match, which neither guy is a champion, so it's just gonna be a fucking match, I guess, which is a little weird for New Japan. They don't really just do singles matches for nothing a lot of the time. But yeah, there's a lot of, like, pretty much everybody is in a new direction, so there's a lot of stuff going on, and there's a lot, they have to do new beginning. They got to make matches for San Jose, which I guess is a good transition to this Kyrie versus Mone match. That's how you pronounce. Rich, I want you to give me one. Mone.
Is it Monet? Or Monet. I keep saying Monet, but it's Monet.
No, it's not Monet.
It's Monet.
Monet. Monet. Not even, it's not money.
Monet.
It's not Monet. It's Monet. Say it, Rich.
Monet.
Yes, like when her song plays, you get I think it's a crisscross.
See, people keep saying that. It's Hustle in the
sample.
House. It's not Crisscross. It's Hustle
Whatever
in the
it
House by
is.
Nipsey Hussle.
So,
I know, but a bunch of people keep saying Crisscross, and it's making me mad. And that's Hustle in the House has a portion of Crisscross in it, but I'm telling you, listen to Hustle in the House, and you'll see that's the song it is.
Well, then you can see that's why people are saying it then, because it has a portion of
but I'm trying to tell people it's Hustle in the House. Like, no, it's Crisscross. I'm like, I know. Trust me, I'm telling you, she's probably more influenced by Nipsey Hussle than she is Crisscross. That's what I'm trying to tell you, people. I'm
She's
young.
kind of
I'm with it.
Isn't she the right age for Crisscross?
I think she's
Isn't
a
that
little
the
too young.
wheelhouse?
No, I think she's a little too young.
Little young?
Yeah.
Little young? Little young?
I'm a little young for Crisscross, to be honest.
She didn't have the backwards overalls on?
No, I mean she just turned 30.
Oh, I thought she was older than that.
No, she just turned 30.
So you listen to the song, like dun dun dun, and then you hear the former such go Money. So you have to say it like that, Rich. Money. Say it.
Money.
A little more.
I don't have
A.
enough. No, I don't have enough.
Do it again. Come on, let's give it to us. Money.
I can't do this. Shut up.
Come on, you gotta learn how to say
Money. You just do it better. I can't do it like you do it. I'm gonna have to practice in the mirror, and maybe next week I'll have it.
We have to pronounce things properly here.
Oh, of course. On this show. Yeah, we're not gonna fuck around on this show.
Money. So every time I'm gonna say it the proper
You're gonna
way.
Stop and say money.
Money. Yes, just like she says it in her walk-up music, which inexplicably has that weird beat change in the middle. What's going on with the second half of that song, Rich?
I can't help you with that. I don't know.
You don't know? Okay. So anyway, they are gonna be on the San Jose show with To Be Determined. Maybe some of these matches we just talked about, but there's something like 1,100 tickets available at the time that she hit the ring at Wrestle Kingdom. And now there's like 200 left or something like that.
Yeah, the last report from
check.
WrestleTix at WrestleTix on Twitter, patreon.com/WrestleTix. 6 hours ago, 267 tickets remain. 400 tickets moved since Mone appeared on the show.
I thought it was more than that because maybe I saw a chart that was even.
Oh, sorry,
older.
400 tickets moved since yesterday's update is what they're saying. Yes.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Sorry,
So,
I bungled that sentence there, but no, since the last time that they updated, 400 more tickets have sold. Right. So yeah, they
I think about 800-900 tickets sold somewhere in that neighborhood.
Yeah, somewhere there. Yeah, they went from a couple days ago, January. They've sold a lot. They've sold plenty of tickets.
What's it set up for? How many is it?
It is set up for right now 2,152. Cheapest ticket is actually $74 though, so they kind of reduced the capacity a little bit, not selling out every ticket, but the cheapest ticket $74 to get in the building. So they right now have 1,885 sold, 267 still on the board.
If they sell 2,200 tickets at $74 a pop, that'd be a $162,000 house. But a lot of that's the cheapest ticket.
That's the cheapest one. Yeah, that's the farthest in the back ticket. So yeah, I can't imagine what the ringside and whatnot is.
Is that the cheapest ticket in the building or the cheapest ticket left now? Well, I guess that would be because they're all upper deck.
It's all upper deck. Yeah, if you look at the graph, they're all up there. Yeah, they're all up there.
This is an expensive show. They're gonna have a $250,000 house on 2,100 people. No wonder they had only sold like 1,200 tickets or something coming in. Jeez, I mean, let's say the average ticket. Well, let's make the math real easy. I mean, maybe if the average ticket is 2,200 seats, if the cheapest ticket's $74, let's just make the average ticket $100. I mean, that's they're going to do a $250,000 gate.
Yeah, let me see if there's any tickets available in like the lower bowl, and then I can maybe get an idea of the ticket price here. Let's go to Battle in the Valley Ticketmaster. I assume it's on that Ticketmaster. Yeah, let's see, New Japan Pro Wrestling Battle in the Valley. Let's see if any of them are available in the lower bowl. Okay, so there's one right next to the ring there, $526.
That's not secondary market?
I don't think so. Official. It says official platinum. Section 102, row A, seat 5. As far as I know, that's not a resale. That is $526 a piece.
This is going to be a $350,000 house.
A lot of money here.
So
a lot of money. Money. Listen. Holy shit, dude! This is.
I too questioned the size of the building, but fuck, if you can sell this out at those ticket prices, that's impressive. That was impressive before they put her on the show and they sold half of these tickets at those prices. I mean,
well, we always say that. Like, people like laugh and they're like, I only got 2,000 people for New Japan in America. Nobody cares about New Japan anymore. And it's like, we always say, like, well, they're selling these things out and they're selling them for pretty decent pennies too. They're making a lot of money here.
Yeah, the thing about the New Japan shows, and when the Elite were there, you know, I didn't understand the criticism. I mean, they were putting 5,000-6,000 people in the building sometimes for these shows, you know, at their peak. You know, the Cow Palace House and those shows where they would draw 2,500 people or whatever in the Pyramid. And even after the pandemic killed all their momentum, AEW killed their momentum, but even post-pandemic, you know, some of these shows, LA Coliseum show with like 1,500 people or something like that. The last Battle in the Valley with, you know, 2,000 people or something like, I mean, people behave as if New Japan has completely flopped in America. And I wouldn't call it that. I mean, I'm sure they're not where they want to be. And they're certainly not where they were at one point before AEW existed and before the pandemic. But if these shows weren't making money, they wouldn't do them anymore. And as we just demonstrated, this show is going to have a monster gate for a little 2,000 seater. So, and now, you know, as good as Wrestle Kingdom was, and now you have Mone in the picture here, you know, they've got a little momentum going here. You know, so I don't know. I think things are looking up for New Japan on both sides of the Pacific. I mean, they really felt like it felt like New Japan was back the other night. It really did, in a lot of different ways. And there's a lot of hot new directions. And Kenny Omega is going to be working shows now because he holds one of their titles. And he, you know, who knows how many times he's going to go back and work, because I don't know necessarily if Tony Khan's going to let him work here. So if he's going to defend his U.S. title, it's got to be there. So they're going to have Kenny Omega in the picture. He also worked Dash. He teamed with Okada, which was interesting. And, you know, here they're going to have Mone and, you know, who knows what else. I don't know. I think they feel like they're on the upswing for the first time since the before times, in my opinion.
So I went and looked at the pricing that New Japan released for the initial sale of Battle in the Valley. Now, obviously, they're on Ticketmaster, and Ticketmaster uses surge pricing and algorithms and all this sort of shit. So the premium ringside initially was $299. That now is surged because there's only a couple left to like $560, like we said before. But that's still a lot of money. $299.
$300 tickets.
Right. People are saying, well, it's not that expensive. Oh, and Noto Shammer is saying, oh, $500 is $300 for ringside is still fucking expensive. Trust me. That's not what you pay for a lot of other wrestling shows to sit ringside. Second section behind that, what they're calling P2, that was $199. P3 was $119. The cheapest tickets were $29 before, and those have all sold out. The ones that are still available, the ones that are in the P5 section, that's where most of them are available. They're not the last row in the upper deck, but kind of middle of the upper deck, front of the upper deck. That's the P5 section. Those were $69 originally, and now what did I say they were? They were $74. So yeah, this inflation and surge has changed a little bit of that. But what we're saying is they're gonna make, but this is a show that's going to make a lot of money, is what we're saying.
Money. Listen, these are still super expensive tickets. $300 ringside for New Japan. This isn't Madison Square Garden. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's San Jose. It's the San Jose Civic Center.
Yeah. I don't buy tickets to things. This is normal to just jack the price up.
Oh yeah. I don't go anywhere either. Yeah.
I don't buy tickets to things. Listen,
no.
I go somewhere, I get in. Okay, I don't buy tickets to things.
I've seen it.
Yeah, you've seen. Yeah, okay.
We were an hour before New Japan at Madison Square Garden. New Japan and ROH at Madison Square Garden. I'm like, you don't have a ticket? You're like, I'll find a way.
Yeah, you don't need a ticket.
And I'm like, all right. So I get in. I'm I'm touching the ceiling, baby. I'm way up there.
Yeah.
I'm touching the rafters. I'm reading all the names on the 74 Knicks or whatever. Because I'm right by that. I'm all the way up there, baby. And then you send me a picture and you're fucking ringside. You're like, I'm like, how'd you get there? He said, don't worry about it.
6th row.
I got there. Don't worry about it. I was like, oh my.
Row 6, sir.
I bought my tickets, 8 months in advance or whatever, and we're touching the ceiling, and there you are, 6th row.
I called the guy from the sidewalk outside MSG 10 minutes before I walked in the building. That's how I got in. So I don't deal with.
I've seen it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't deal with this nonsense. I didn't know they could just jack up prices for tickets.
It's great. Yeah.
Because there's a scarcity of them all of a sudden.
Yeah, it's great. Algorithms. It's awesome. Computers. Great. Good thing.
I thought a ticket price was just a ticket price.
No, not with Ticketmaster, baby.
That's pretty fucking gross.
Yeah.
I gotta say.
It's gross. Do some reading on Ticketmaster. They are pretty
I
fucking
don't,
gross.
Listen, I don't live like the plebes. I wasn't aware of this, but I had no idea this was happening. I thought a ticket cost what it cost. And then you fucking
not to Ticketmaster. Not to Ticketmaster it doesn't.
You buy the fucking ticket and you go to the show. Like I didn't know that what this how does that work? Like does New Japan get that money? Do they split the money? Does Ticketmaster keep the money? How does this work?
That's a great question. I don't know the answer to that. I don't want to know the answer to that. I would hate to be in the arena business or the live event business right now because it is a fucking disaster. And
yeah,
the good thing is two of the biggest ticket companies merged a couple years ago, so that ended up going pretty well for the customer.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I legitimately haven't bought like just a straight ticket to something, and I couldn't even tell you the last time. I either do what I got to do with my ways,
somehow find your ways, yes,
or I just go secondary market or something. I've never dealt with this, so I didn't know anything about it. I had no idea this was a thing.
Yeah, I forget what they call it. They call it like
dynamic or whatever.
No, because people know what dynamic is now. Because they used to use dynamic, and then people caught on to what dynamic meant, and it means we're fucking you over. So now it's like
surge or
no, because that people know surge. So it's like platinum pricing or whatever. And it's like fuck off. You know what I mean? Like go to hell.
Yeah, that's what Uber calls it. They call it surge pricing when there's not enough drivers and there's too many people needing rides. So they jack it up. Which is very nice. I have to tell you, I don't really do much Ubering anymore. But when I used to do it, I would just sit in my living room and look at the driver app until it would tell me that surge pricing was in effect.
Boom. Yep. Grab those keys and go.
I grab the keys and run out the door. Yeah. And then I'd go make $200 in 40 minutes and then go home, and that'd be my weekend, and then that would pay the electric bill or whatever. But because on the driver, I don't know what it looks like on the rider app, but on the driver app, you have a map of your city and the regions, the little parts of the city where there's the surge pricing light up red on the driver app. And the darker the shade of red, the higher the surge pricing.
Yeah.
So I would just wait for that and then immediately drive to that area and then turn on the app and then say, I'm ready to work. And then, your first ride is always going to be some crazy, driving somebody 2 miles and they get charged $87, typically after football games, it would be utterly ridiculous.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, that's how around me, after a sporting event or whatever, and everyone's just waiting in a parking lot or whatever to do that, and it's like, yeah, these people are paying $120 to go, a mile and a half or whatever, and it's like, man.
Yeah, I get these nervous college kids, and they'd be like, because they'd see and they'd be like, oh, can you just drop me off like 3 blocks in front of where you're supposed to drop? Because then the price would come down a little, and I'm like, listen, you're the boss. I'll do whatever you want me to do. I don't give a shit. Stuck in a traffic jam, they're hopping out of the car. They don't care.
Right.
They just jog the rest of the way. But yeah, no, I had no idea tickets work the same way. This is completely new information to me. Never knew this. Pretty crazy.
It's pretty crazy. Yeah, look up the Taylor Swift thing if you want even more. I don't know. Ask TLB. She'll know about the Taylor Swift thing. So She's working on taking down Ticketmaster after her whole thing. But anyway.
Well, I mean, Pearl Jam tried that and in the fucking
No, they
90s.
were one of the first ones. Credit to your boys Pearl Jam. In the 90s, they said, hey, this shit sucks. We got to not let this happen. And nobody listened. Everybody said, shut up.
They went to Congress.
Yes,
they went all the way to Congress.
In like 1997 or something like that. We're like, hey, this sucks, guys. Just so you know, if we let this happen, we're all fucked. And they went, shut up. What do you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, they were right. They nailed it. Anyway, so Mone, she is going to be at Battle in the Valley. And she might be moving some New Japan World subscriptions as well. This also from Chris Samsa on Twitter. New Japan World has 24,302 new accounts in 48 hours between the morning of 1/3 and 1/5. Now, obviously, as I said, not all of those are subscribers, but they are brand new accounts, and you would assume that a lot of them have been converted to subs or whatever. I can't say, and Chris probably can't say officially, those are new subscriptions, but they're new accounts on the service, which is good. I mean, that's great. The number usually referenced, and I don't know if this was ever official or I don't know if New Japan ever released this or whatever, but I think it was a Dave Meltzer report, is that when Jericho did his match with Omega all those years ago, they got 60,000 new accounts basically in a couple of days. So this one's at 24,000 new accounts, which honestly is pretty damn good. Yes, it's not 60,000, but you have to assume that most of those 60,000 people that made accounts or whatever after the Omega Jericho thing still had, accounts and still were involved in the service or still tangentially watching New Japan or keeping an eye on it or whatever. To get 24,000 new people, again, that's just all you're knowing is there's new eyeballs. There are new eyeballs that have never been on New Japan World before that are now on there to the tune of almost 30,000 people. That's good.
Evan Deadly Sins, who also covers New Japan business, is saying 92,409 unique viewers for Wrestle Kingdom, 30% foreign. So there you go. I mean, seems like a massive success. So Kenny Omega versus Will Ospreay.
Chris following up that's the English feed as well. That 92,000.
Wait. With 30% being late night. Oh, the 30% is on the English feed.
Okay, there we go. Okay.
Yeah. I was gonna say there's no way that
No. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. I was gonna say put Mone in the Observer Hall of Fame now.
Right. If she's got 100,000 people watching the English feed.
I think a combination of Mone and the Omega Ospreay match obviously led to massive foreign business here. So, they're calling that a record. It was just made public, and they're calling this the 92,409 users a record. So, this is from official from New. This is all breaking as we're doing the show.
Yes.
So
I'm sorry. That's why it sounds like shit because we're reading the report as it's coming in.
So I sound like a babbling idiot. Okay, so I'll just
more so than usual, I should say.
Absolutely. So 92,409 unique users were watching Wrestle Kingdom 17 live, with 30% braving late nights and early mornings on a weekday to watch the English feed live from overseas. That's a record for New Japan Pro Wrestling World since inception in 2014. And we thank all of our new, returning, and consistent users very, very much. End statement. So there you go. I think Mone has a case to ask for a little more money next time around, as does Kenny Omega.
Yeah.
And credit to them, credit to Will Ospreay. Throw a little bit of credit to Jay White and Okada. Why not? I mean, they were technically in the main event.
Yeah.
I don't think they had anything to do with the 30% of the foreign viewership. That all goes to Mone and is that annoying yet? Or should I?
Yes, but it's you and I like it. So keep it going.
Yes.
It is annoying, yes, but also keep doing it. What has being annoying stopped you ever?
That's an excellent point.
Right.
An excellent point. That's part of the charm. That's a big success all around. So now we see if domestically, if we get 1 year further removed from COVID in a very nervous country when it comes to pandemics, if they can now get back to where they were and get closer to drawing 40,000 people to these dome shows because they did a shade over 25,000, which is, matches a number from, I think we talked about this, 2017. And then they really blew up, and they had the year with the first Double Dome year. They did, a combined 70,000 people. And we'll see if they can get back to that. And it's all going to, they got to just keep making new stars. That's always the key to this. And, I think that's a lot of what this Kenny Omega Will Ospreay feud is intent to do, right? Will Ospreay had his matches with Okada. Now he's going to have this feud with Omega this year, and he's obviously going to beat Omega, assuming everybody is still able to wrestle each other and nobody goes to WWE or anything like that. I think at some point, obviously, Will Ospreay is going to beat Kenny Omega in the Tokyo Dome, and that's going to wrap this little program up. The idea being that Will Ospreay is now fully elevated, no pun intended. Because, that first world title run when Kota Ibushi got hurt, and then Will Ospreay won it, and then, he wanted to go home because the pandemic was a pain in the ass, and then Shingo won it. Like, it's so hard to even count any of those title reigns. They just seem like a completely different world at this point. Those three in particular, Ibushi, Ospreay, and Shingo. And it really sucks for those three guys, for them to have their big moments in front of, limited and no fans and whatever. But I think the purpose of this Omega feud is to properly and fully get Ospreay right there as a true top guy in the company, which, I mean, he just co-main evented Wrestle Kingdom. So well on his way there. But and a great short-term shot in the arm from Mone, which is what they were wanting out of her.
Yep.
And why they're paying her a shit ton of money. So that's just, tremendous news for them with the people watching on World. And now the idea is, how many do you keep? The Sasha stands, they'll stick with it. They'll stick with this service as long as she's on it. Right. And then you would think most of them will exit stage left. They'll be out of here once she's gone. But I tell you, it just the Sasha Stan tweets were funny that night. Not knowing that,
it's like they got dropped into a different universe. They're like, what is happening? There's old men wrestling and they're beating the shit out of each other. What's happening? What's going on? This is strange. This is weird. Like,
yeah, they seemed very impressed by the Catch 2-2 versus Yo and Leo Rush tag. They were impressed by that. And a lot of them didn't realize that TJP and Leo Rush were in this company. They were, like you said, very impressed with the Inoki tribute tag on the pre-show, and they were noting how hard these old men were working. So there was a lot of that. It almost might have been smarter to put the Monday thing later in the card to expose them to more of your talent, because I'm sure they all went to bed after that was over. But shit, with all the hype that Ospreay Omega's getting and the fact that they're familiar with those guys, maybe they went back and watched it. They're paying for it anyway, right? So even a lot of these new subscribers who might only care about money, they might, if you're paying for it anyway, you might sample the rest, especially if everybody's telling you it was one of the greatest matches that's ever been. So, I mean, who knows? Yeah. And then there's probably a lot of people who have given up on New Japan during the pandemic years who are just wrestling fans, and maybe even people who listen to this show who hopped back in this year because of the crowds were allowed to cheer and the card would look good. And we were getting Ospreay Omega, which looked on paper like it was going to be one of the greatest matches ever, and then it really was. So, again, I really think the arrow's pointing up for New Japan. I think this was a great, great night for them. And now we have some objective proof that it was from a business point of view.
Yeah, they're definitely riding high right now. I do think one of the things that's going to be interesting with Mercedes is that the Battle in the Valley is going on Fight. I don't think that's going to be on New Japan World. I know there was a promo package where she was saying, come watch Battle in the Valley, me versus Kyrie on Fight or whatever. So now you're already kind of moving people over to another service, and
which is a mess. That's a mess.
Yeah, that does suck. If I was New Japan World, I would do whatever. I mean, I know it's tough and it's difficult or whatever, but you need to keep those people. So whatever it is that you got to do to get that match up as quick as possible. You don't have to have the whole show, but that match, something, you know what I mean? I don't know the contracts. I don't know all that sort of stuff, but it is a little messy to be like, hey, I signed up for New Japan World. All right, let me go see this Mercedes match. And it's like, it's actually on Fight. Sorry, you got to go pay for this now on this service. And it's like, that could. So it is a little clunky and a little weird. And they're going to have to they kind of have to figure that out over the next weeks and months or whatever, of how to make that better make sense to new
Actually,
customers.
I think it's pay-per-view on New Japan World too.
Okay.
Because I'm looking at it, and typically it's just region blocked. Like you can buy it if you're in Japan.
Right. It's not for you. Not region blocked.
Well, I'm looking at the banner, and it says pay-per-view live, and in English it says approximately $22.70.
Okay.
Why would it say that if you can't buy it in dollars? Right? I mean, that doesn't make sense. Let me see if
I don't know enough about. I this is the first time I've actually looked at buying that thing outside of a Fight. So that I'm not positive of, unfortunately.
I'm gonna try to buy it. Well, let's see. I'll just try to buy it right now.
Try to do it there.
So,
but you all should buy it on voicesofwrestling.com/fight though, if you're gonna buy it.
All right, hold on. Let me see if this
/fight. Yeah, just read out your credit card number, please, and. Yeah, pay-per-view live. I'm there too. Let's see if I can get there before you. Looks like, I don't know.
I don't want to click this because I don't want to buy.
Right, you don't really want to buy it now, but it looks like it says select payment method. It looks like I can just hit PayPal or whatever. I can't use my card, but it looks like. Oh no, I can use my card. Yeah, looks like I'm.
Well, there you go. It's a pay-per-view on New Japan World. So you can buy it through New Japan World.
So what we're being told in the No Dope chat room, Japanese on World, English on Fight. So if you want English language, you got to go to Fight.
It says right on there, Japanese commentary only.
Okay, and that might be fine for some people. That might be fine.
But that's definitely going to be a deterrent for your Sasha stands.
You're right. For your brand new, some of those 24,000 new Sasha stands that just joined on, they're not going to want to listen to Japanese commentary.
How much is it on Fight?
It is on voicesofwrestling.com/fight. It is Battle in the Valley 2023 fights. It is, give me one moment, $19.99.
Oh, well, I'm buying it on Fight. Yeah, I'm saving that $2.71.
Oh, yeah,
sir.
You are.
Yeah, so I don't know. Two different options to buy it, I guess. But again, it's another step. But a lot of these services have gone in that direction. It used to be you get everything, but you buy ESPN Plus, you still got to pay. What is it now for you? Didn't UFC pay-per-views go up again? So like
you would be the better person. I don't know. I've never bought a UFC pay-per-view in my life, so I can't tell you. But
they're raising prices again.
I did see I do remember hearing about the prices and being kind of shocked at how expensive they still were on top of the ESPN Plus.
Yeah, they're gonna be $79.99 or something now, I think.
I will not be buying a UFC pay-per-view anytime soon, I'll tell you that. Good Lord.
Yeah. And then then when she wrestles in Stardom, you're gonna have to go to a different service for that. So they're gonna have these Sasha fans chasing their tail all over the place.
Yeah, they're gonna have to educate. They're gonna have to do a very good job of educating and giving information to everybody.
But they'll pay. I mean, they're devoted. They will. I feel like they'll pay. Some of them, they're young. They're going to find a stream, but the ones that take care of themselves, I feel like they are big enough fans of this person that they'll go to Fight and New Japan. Well, we see that they did go to New Japan World already. They'll go to Fight. They'll go to Stardom World. They're going to find a way to watch these matches.
Yeah.
The ones that are adults, kids are kids, they're limited what they could do, but the ones that are adults, they're going to find a way. And we have some evidence now that that's the case. Look, the early returns here. This New Japan World data that we just got straight from the company, and these tickets that have moved, the remaining tickets for the Battle in the Valley. It's like I wrote earlier this week behind the paywall. It's she has a chance to put her money where her mouth is and really put up or shut up here. And so far, the early returns, she's delivering.
As far as where she might also make an appearance, and this is getting a little more complicated this week, I'm very curious. I don't know if you covered it on the AEW Dynamite review you did at flagshippatreon.com. That is available every single Thursday as well, flagshippatreon.com, $5 tier for that. But this week's Dynamite, Saraya was backstage with Toni Storm and Hikaru Shida and named Toni Storm as her partner for next week's show. But what was interesting is earlier in Dynamite, Britt Baker was doing a pre-tape, Jamie Hayter and Tony Schiavone, and Britt Baker said and alluded to the boss. I am the boss, and then kind of winked at the camera, said the boss, and then a wink, and then that was that pre-tape, and then later in the pre-tape we had the Hikaru Shida thing. So what's weird is that Hikaru Shida clearly annoyed at Saraya and Toni Storm when Saraya's doing the promo. She's saying, we have a great women's division here. We have Toni Storm, who's tremendous. We have her too, and kind of points at Hikaru Shida. She's pretending like she doesn't know who Hikaru Shida's name is. I saw a lot of people actually bothered by that. Like they would do a pre-tape where she wouldn't know what her name was and they wouldn't redo it. I mean, that was clearly this. Could not believe when I saw people that were legitimately upset and thought that Saraya does not know who Hikaru Shida is or that they wouldn't care. The point was she didn't know her name, and that's why Hikaru Shida was so upset afterwards. But regardless, you have Shida clearly annoyed at both Saraya and Toni Storm. But what the hell's going on here? Then we have Dave Meltzer's saying one thing that maybe I've been told that she's not in the match. There's other people saying she is in the match. What the hell do you make of this? Is she coming on Wednesday or not? What's going on here?
At Kroger, we believe fresh means holding all our produce to a higher standard. To make sure a bad apple won't spoil the whole bunch, we do up to a 27-point inspection on our fruits and veggies. We check for things like sunburns and scarring, making sure you only get the crunchiest apples. In fact, only the best produce like juicy pears, zesty oranges, and crisp carrots reach our shelves. Because when it comes to fresh for everyone, we want our fruits and veggies to be the apple of your eye. Kroger, fresh for everyone.
Okay, so Dave Meltzer says that somebody in the match told him that she's not in the match. Okay, so either that person...
I don't like that sourcing, I'll be honest.
Either that person's working Dave, which is highly unlikely. That person doesn't know. And even the people in the match are going to find out on the night of.
Do you think it would be unlikely that person would be working Dave?
I think it's highly... I don't think it's a good idea for... Okay, so if this person's is speaking to Dave, we have to presume that they are someone who has a relationship with Dave and has been a source. And why would they burn him in this way? Like, what's the...
my interpretation of it, and again, I have no idea. I'm not privy to any of the conversations. I wonder if he asked and the person answered in kind of a wink, wink, nudge, nudge way, but maybe Dave didn't interpret it that way. Do you see what I'm saying?
I do. I'm not going to... For the purposes of this conversation, though, I'm going to assume that Dave was told flat out by someone in the match that Mone is not in the match. And I don't think it would be wise or even right, ethical, or professional for a wrestler to... Okay, wait, okay. You're as familiar with this as I am, okay? What does Tony Khan do when he doesn't want to answer a question? Let me phrase it a different way.
When he doesn't want to lie about something.
What does Tony Khan do when the only way he can answer you is to lie to you? What does he do?
Just avoids.
He disappears. He drops off the fucking planet.
Yeah, no comment, or he disappears.
He doesn't say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I can't." No, he just fucking is a ghost. And I feel like if Dave flat out asked the wrestler if Mone was going to be in the match, and the wrestler knows that she's going to be in it and told him no, I just don't see that happening. I'm not saying that wrestlers and promoters don't work the media, but not that blatantly. Not, I'm going to tell a bald-faced lie. So no, I don't buy that. Is it possible that this wrestler isn't aware yet that Mone is in the match? I think that is entirely possible. Do I think that it's just the truth? Yeah. Maybe she's not in the match. And maybe, and this is my theory, she won't be in the match. And it's to throw everybody off the scent and have everybody let their guard down and think, oh shit, she's really not here. And then have her debut later in another way.
Right. Against Jade or something like Jade makes a surprise. Jade says, I'll face anybody in the back. I'm undefeated. Nobody can beat me. And then, Mone starts playing. And then, that's one way. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Now, the reason I wouldn't do that is because even though that would be cool and creative and fun and make for a great night, I'd be thinking about my bottom line. I would want, if she's going to be there, I'd want everyone to know, and I would just tell them, and I would sell the rest of the tickets in that building because it's not a sellout and there are tickets to be sold. They have a good house, but it's not a sellout. It's
Right. They can sell more. They can definitely sell more.
Yes. And I would want to pop the number.
Right. Well, yeah, they just had their lowest 18 to 49 in 2 years or whatever.
In 2 years.
Yeah.
They did a .26, their lowest number since the Capitol storming killed their number that night.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Wow. Okay. Yeah, I might just say, hey. Shit.
You know what I mean? So it's like, I would do that, but would I put it past them to sort of do this double swerve where it's like everyone's expecting Sheeta to attack Toni Storm and then the replacement is Mone.
Right.
But maybe they don't do that and they just do the fucking match. And then everyone's like, oh, she's really not here. And then an hour later in another segment, she pops up and the house goes bananas.
Right. The problem is you're setting up for a really weird night for all those women. All 4 of those women are in a terrible situation then.
Yeah.
Because the match is going to start, the bell's going to ring, and they're just going to get boos, and people are clearly going to be thinking one way. And then whatever that match is, like, it's just going to feel awkward and weird. And then it's going to feel awkward and weird until she comes. And if she doesn't come, it's going to even be more. So they've really put themselves in a very, like, why would Britt do the boss thing then and like the wink, wink, nudge, nudge then if she's not going to be there for that match? You know what I mean? Like that, I just wouldn't have done that. Yeah. I just wouldn't have done. There's a lot of it's all been weird. It's all been very, very weird. And we all kind of thought it was more calculated than it was, and it might still be calculated, but I'm kind of lost on the calculation at this point. It made sense to me before. We said wait till January and you leave it open, and then you can say you could do exactly what Britt did. Exactly what Britt did. Said, hey, you know what? She might be the champ, but I'm the boss. You know, wink, and then it's like that's it, and that's all you need. And you can keep it mystery person, and it ends up being Sasha or whatever, you know, and that's fine. That would be perfectly okay. You've given enough of a hint. There's enough of a plausible thing where people could say, okay, she said the boss, she winked, Mercedes just appeared on New Japan. There's a good chance that's going to be her. You know what? It's probably going to be her. I'm okay with that. But at this point now, saying the boss thing and then saying Toni Storm's the guest, and then, like you said, having people presumably in that company or in that match talking to Dave and saying, no, she's not in there. And that's also been disputed. I think Sean Ross Sapp said that he doesn't think anybody in the match is actually talking to Dave. So I don't know anymore.
Dave Meltzer is not making that up. Come on.
I agree. I just don't know. I don't know what's going on anymore.
Okay, for that to be true, you would have to believe that Dave Meltzer is fabricating a conversation with Britt Baker, Toni Storm, Saraya, or whoever the other person, Jamie Hayter.
Oh yeah, sorry, Jamie Hayter. Yeah,
and he's not doing that. Okay, if he said he talked to someone in the match and they told him that, he talked to someone in the match and they told him that. I gave you the 3 options. They're either working him deliberately, they don't know themselves, or it's the truth. I mean, that's it. I mean, someone in the chat room says, well, people like Eddie Gilbert played Dave for years. They did. But people like Eddie Gilbert and Paul Heyman and all the other people that were talking to the sheets in those early days, they wouldn't flat out lie to Dave. They would get what suited their agenda into the newsletters. Because if Eddie Gilbert and Paul Heyman just flat out told Dave bald-faced lies, he'd stop talking to them and he would stop putting their spin on things in his newsletter. Those guys were smart enough to basically control their own narrative through Dave. And there's still people who do that. Obviously, they do it to all of us. I was just having this conversation with someone earlier today about that very thing. The wrestlers know what's up. But this would be this would be just somebody just lying to Dave and making him look like a fool. How do you think he's going to take that? He's never going to listen to that person. And if that person wants to use Dave for the purposes we did, they can't anymore. So I find that hard to believe that someone would just lie to him. They either have to not know themselves, or they're either telling the truth or think that they're telling the truth. You know what I mean? You know, because maybe on Wednesday they'll find out. Someone in our chat, and I'm sorry for not remembering who it was, in our Discord made a good point. Maybe she cannot be in this tag match because it would be proof that they negotiated her while she was under WWE contract, because she had permission to negotiate with New Japan. Is that plausible? It sounds good. Because the match was announced before, you know what I mean? So, and maybe they just don't want any part of that mess.
But then never do the mystery person then.
Not do the mystery person, because they announced the mystery person before the New Japan deal was public. So what you don't do, though, is you don't have Britt go out there and say, I'm the boss, and wink at the camera.
Right.
That's what you don't do. Because as I've been saying all along, I don't think it's on AEW if people think it's her, because they've never given you reason to think. Now they have.
They did. They just did.
So now I'm off of that. I'm off of that now. Because once Britt says she's the boss, now you're fucking with people. Now you better deliver. And if it's not in that match, it better be that night. Or it better be the following week or something.
You have to on Friday say, contrary to popular belief, Mercedes Mone, who recently debuted in New Japan Pro Wrestling, will not be on you have to now say something, because right? Like, you can't just have it go and leave it ambiguous on Wednesday. If you know at this point that you don't have her, that she's not going to be on the show, that she's not going to be in that tag match or whatever, now it's up to you to say something, I think. They didn't have to before, and we said that a couple weeks ago. They didn't have to before, but once you say the boss and you wink, and I think now you got people thinking that, especially when it's the night of her debut in New Japan Pro Wrestling, you do that. Now I think the onus is on them at some point Friday to say, okay, there's been a lot of rumors and stuff going on online, but we do have to let you know that Mercedes will not be on. I feel like you kind of have to, or say something in the effect of, I don't know what that thing is that you say, but something to now tell people now, that she's not going to be there now.
You got to deliver her now.
Or you just got to fucking deliver her, yeah. Or she's just got to be there.
You have to deliver her now. Before, I thought the onus was on the fans because it was announced before we knew. But now I don't agree with that. Once you start playing games, now you got to deliver.
Well, and then you have also the weird thing too, where like you said, maybe this person doesn't know and they've been told one thing by, but
which
now
is entirely possible.
Now you're also working a locker room. If Tony knows that he's got Mercedes, but isn't, now you're doing the work in the locker room thing. And that's not very good. I'll tell you, I'm doing Goldberg 173-1 coming up soon. Not good. Don't work the locker room. Bad.
I don't know. Do you think that's working the locker room in that sense?
I would say if these people are being told that Mercedes is not in their match and that it's actually, it's Tony and Saraya versus Britt. And if that, like, if you're saying if that person's not lying to Dave and that person genuinely believes that Mercedes is not in that match and they're still kind of putting that together and figuring that out, then it kind of, I don't know.
If Tony is the only one, if Tony and his music guy, because that man, if anyone wants a source,
the music guy, guys. Absolutely, that guy's got it all loaded up. Music guy and the video guys, those are the people to talk to.
Those are the people to talk to. And if Tony and his music guy are the only people that know today that she's going to be in that tag team match, right? And as far as the talent knows, they only know what we know, what's been on screen and what they've been told to say on camera. Then isn't it possible that whoever Dave talked to, and for the sake of the argument, let's say Britt, isn't it possible that Britt only knows what we know, what's been on camera, and she hasn't necessarily been told that Mone is not in the match, but she hasn't been told that she is. So when she has this conversation with Dave, and Dave says, hey, is she in the match or not? She says, no, the match is what you just, that's all I know. Isn't that plausible too? And that, to me, I don't know if I count that as working the locker room. Why does the talent need to be in on this until they need to know? Next Wednesday in the building, you call them in the office.
I would say in this situation, because it is so newsworthy, that you should probably do a solid to the people in the match and tell them, because they're going to get asked by 1,000 people.
And then you're putting them in the bad position of having to.
Let's, again, for the purposes of the story, say Britt is in a bad situation where she now is thinking, well, fuck, now what do. And
now she's telling Dave Meltzer, oh, no, she's not in the match.
Right.
And now she looks like a doofus. And now it's like we just talked about before. Now Dave Meltzer's never going to trust her because Dave thinks that she lied.
Exactly. Yes. This is what I'm saying. So, there's a little too much cuteness going on here, I think. One way or another, there's too much cuteness going on.
So apparently people in the chat room, two different people are telling us that Alvarez at some point today, maybe Wrestling Observer Live or something, I didn't hear this bit, is saying that he thinks Dave may have misspoken and meant a person in the company, not a person in the match, told him, which would change everything. because then we don't know. He could have talked to anyone. And
right. If it's just somebody in the company, they could be like, I don't know, man. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I don't know. The match is the match. I don't know. Like, I'm not sure. Because I think you have to tell the people in the match because that would be shitty if the people in the match didn't know and were being put on the spot. But if you just ask random roster member number 27 and they're like, I don't know. I think the match is the match. I don't know. Then that's a whole different thing. Like, that person doesn't have to know.
Like Johnny
Hungy has to know, but Johnny Hungy doesn't have to know. You don't have to get Johnny Hungy in a room and just say, hey, just so if anybody asks you, we do have Mercedes signed, but don't tell, no, you don't have to tell Johnny Hungy, but you got to tell Britt. You got to tell Jamie. But no, Johnny Hungy doesn't have to know.
Right. I think I agree with that because, like you said, you don't want to put the people in the match in a position to be liars. And even if, the reality is they don't know, they have no choice, and they have no agency over whether they want to. It's just they don't know the truth, so that is shitty. I agree. I don't know. Look, the I'm the boss thing. She has to be delivered. That's the bottom line.
Yeah. Now
you have to deliver. And you can't even put it on Britt because that's a pre-tape and you don't have to air that. If Britt went into business for herself and got cute, okay, you as a boss can say, we're shooting that again because I don't want that on my air.
Yeah, don't do that boss shit again because we're not actually signing her. So,
right.
Everyone in that room is smart enough to know. Tony Schiavone's smart enough to know. I think Britt and Jamie are smart enough to know, and more than anybody, I know Tony Khan is smart enough to know that no, that's not a good idea to do that. Let's not do that.
Yeah,
because there's no benefit to that. The benefit is maybe a few more people check it out, or a few more people buy a ticket, but you're going to burn all those people if they don't, and it's going to be much, much worse.
Yeah.
So certainly not worth it. It's fascinating, man. I don't know. This is either some 4D chess that I can't wrap my head around, or I don't know what's going on. Maybe it'll be more clear on Friday, and we'll look like a bunch of idiots. When the scenario that everybody thinks is going to happens and Sheeta beats up Tony Storm or whatever. Yeah.
I think she's going to be there in LA. I don't know anything. Obviously nobody's talking. I just think that Tony Khan's behavior has been different in this one. People asked him about Bray Wyatt for months and months and months. And
he always came up with the same story.
His answer was the same every time.
I met him at Jericho's birthday party. I like him as a person.
That's it. I like him as a person. I met him. He's a nice guy. And that was it. And, when he got asked about Mone on the Grapsody deal, he just completely no-sold it. He didn't even say anything complimentary towards her. He just said, how does this benefit he used the line from the HBO gimmick. I don't want to botch it. How does this benefit my interests to say anything to you? As opposed to some long PR answer about how much he enjoys her talents. Like, he didn't even touch it. So I think she's coming in. So I don't know how they're going to get there. I think it's going to be my idea of the tag match goes off without a hitch, throws everyone off the scent, then she shows up. You get the monster pop. You trade a couple ticket sales and a few TV viewers for the big surprise, the pop, blowing up social media. Because, look, you're going to get those viewers anyway eventually. Those Sasha stands are going to come. They just won't come that night. So, anyway, I think she's going to be. Do you think she'll be there? Gun to your head.
Ultimately, yes. Ultimately, I do still think she's going to be there.
Yeah, and they still have Rampage and Battle of the Belts where they can do an angle. They got two shows.
I mean, hell, they have the first half of Dynamite too. You know what I mean? Like, I would probably let people give a little bit more. I would by Friday have it be a mystery again, or at least a thought that, man, Tony Storm might not be able to make it there on Wednesday. But you can also do it at the beginning of the show on Wednesday too, if you really want to. You could have, Tony Storm backstage getting attacked by a car sheet or something dumb like that. Again, this is all like probably a little bit more than we need, but yeah, like there's still time to do it for sure. There's still technically two shows and then the beginning of Dynamite if you really, really want to. But I don't know. He has opted for the pops. You know what I mean? He has opted for a little bit more of
Some cases.
Yeah. I don't know.
So you've had some time to sit on it, and then we'll move on to other stuff. Ospreay Omega, is it the greatest match you've ever seen? Okay, let's start with this. Is it ridiculous or is it legitimate to even ask that question?
No, it's not ridiculous. No.
It's a legitimate question. So you believe it's at minimum in the conversation of the greatest match you've ever seen?
Certainly. Yeah. I think it's up there. I can't say that right now. And I also have a tough time with because there's certain time. I have like a couple of matches that I rotate between that's like, yeah, that is, or I hate saying that is definitely number one, my favorite match of all time. Like I have a few, it depends what my tastes are at that day, but it's at the very least, it is in that conversation, will always be in that conversation for me as legitimately one of the greatest matches I've ever seen. Yeah. Not just, hey, this is really great, or hey, this is on my match of the year list. No, it far, far, far exceeds that.
That's kind of where I am. I'm going to watch it again and decide, because there's one specific thing I want to pay attention to, and it's going to determine my answer. I don't want to say what it is. But I'm going to watch the match again. It might be the greatest match I've ever seen. It was really fucking good. What did it not have? I mean, the work was perfect. There was one minor flub early in the match where they went for a spot and they just kind of got lost in the spot. But fuck, did they cover for it great. And Ospreay put Omega in an abdominal stretch. Do you remember the spot? They were going for some kind of, I don't know what they were going for, but it got messy for a split second, and Ospreay just thawed on his feet and put Omega in an abdominal stretch, and then dropped the elbow on the ribs, and then they went into a different spot, which achieved probably what the end game of the first spot was going to be, with whoever took over. If you rewatch the match, you'll see what I'm talking about. Okay,
all right, yeah, I don't remember that really, but
you know my stance on that kind of stuff. If you cover for it in a good way, I don't care anymore. Now, if it just completely falls apart and it's it's a botch and the match has to, that's different. Or the biggest crime is trying to do the spot over again. I hate that. The spot's dead. Do something else. Don't set it up again. But they covered for it very well. And then there's something at the tail end of the match. I want to rewatch the finish as well. But this very well could be the greatest match I've ever seen, because the work was flawless aside from that one minor flub. The story, man, I didn't expect them to go where they went with the story, and they totally blew my expectations by, I don't know what I was expecting with this match, but it wasn't that. It wasn't Kenny Omega beating the living shit out of Will Ospreay.
I didn't think I was going to get that much hate. I thought it was going to be a little bit more of an exhibition match of these guys doing the best things that they can do. And that's fine. That would have been fine with me. That would have said, hey, that's because these are two of the greatest wrestlers ever. If these guys wanted to go out there and do some fun stuff and flippy doos and all that, I'd be perfectly fine with that. I'd be perfectly fine with the counters. Because I went back and I watched Omega and Okada, the first Wrestle Kingdom match they had a couple of days ago, and that was like a lot of counter, a lot of mat wrestling, a lot of back and forth. Kenny countering Okada stuff, and that was cool. That was really, really cool. And if this match was that, I would have been perfectly fine with that. That would have been just, instead they went out there and beat the ever living shit out of each other. You brought up the spot again the spot where Omega is just smacking Ospreay's bloody head on the table over and over and over again. Just bam, bam, bam,
and
bam,
the table's breaking.
Yeah, it's breaking more and more as it's going on. This guy's just like, gah. He just keeps driving his head in there.
Bloody fragments of table are flying all over the place. And Ospreay was, they agreed to just fucking murder each other. This had that's the right word, the hate. This had the hate and the violence. It's like I can't imagine any corner of the fandom not enjoying this, because it had it all. It's if you like that hatred and that viciousness in your wrestling and you like watching guys stiff the fuck out of each other, this had it. I mean, one guy had a boot print on his face by the end of the match. Both guys were bleeding. Plus you had the insane athleticism and you had crazy spots. You had just the nastiness of the chops and the kicks. And you had the great storytelling that fit. We talked about last week in the preview how it almost felt like it had peaked too early. And they got everybody back the night before with those promos. And that Ospreay promo in particular. And then they worked this match to that story to perfection. And we talked about this on the Instant Reaction, but they have so many different places they can go when they wrestle again. It's hard to imagine they can top this, but they have set the deck to build on the story they're telling. There's so much you can do. Now Will Ospreay is questioning himself, and he has to wonder if he can overcome Kenny Omega. And there's this new villainous, nasty Omega that we've never seen before. We've never seen Kenny wrestle like that. And is Ospreay going to give Kenny his and beat him up the same way that Omega beat him up? And it's just, and there's so many crazy high spots that we know they can do that they have left on the table that just weren't appropriate for this particular match. Will brought out some of his stuff. He did the flippy do off the corner to the floor, but he didn't bust out all of his shit. Neither did Kenny. Kenny hasn't been hitting with a Stormbreaker yet. Can he kick out of a Stormbreaker? And if he does, then what does Ospreay do? There's just so. I hope they. I hope they do the match one more time at some point before they're definitely going to do it again in the Wrestle Kingdom. Based on all of Ospreay's promos and everything. But I hope we get another one before that too. I would love to see what these guys can do with the trilogy or even, 3 or 4 matches and see if they can constantly top each other with the creativity and the storytelling. But this had psychology. This had nastiness. This had great work. This had excitement. This had drama. I don't know. I'm going to watch it again, and it very well may be the greatest match that I've ever seen.
It certainly belongs in that conversation, and yeah, it's one that I'll definitely want to revisit later in the year, maybe, and then definitely at the end of the year again. But yeah, it's in that conversation. It absolutely is in that conversation, and not just a fleeting like, yeah, really great. One of the best things you'll see this year. Like, no, it upper echelon. Even in the moment,
this is one of the best things you'll see. This is one of the best things you'll see in your life.
Right.
And I
called it the apex of pro wrestling a couple days ago, and I stand by that. I really do.
There's a couple places I go that are non-wrestling places that have wrestling conversation. Like there's a Discord I go to that's not a wrestling Discord, but they have a wrestling room, and it's very casual fans. Okay, it's and I drop in there just to see what they think of stuff, and they mostly talk WWE and AEW. You almost never see people talk about anything else in there, and some of the people watched Wrestle Kingdom and all completely blown away by the match. And these are people parachuting in. So, they weren't locked in on the fucking press conference the night before. And, they might not even have been aware that these two guys have been arguing with each other all year or that, any of the history, anything like that. And they all understood the match and they got it. And universal praise in that particular chat room of people who, normally, they like their bloodline, Rich. That's what they're into. And they ate it up. So, I really feel like, and I haven't looked in a lot of other places. I'm sure there's some people on Twitter who are shitting on it. That's just par for the course. But it's hard for me to imagine what the criticisms would be.
Yeah, it's hard for me to imagine you being a professional wrestling fan and watching that match and saying, you know what? Nah, it just didn't do it for me. It
had everything you would want.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like
if you go in deciding you're going to hate it, maybe you'll hate it. But I can't imagine going in with an open mind and leaving and going, whatever.
Because even, there's sometimes there's matches I think are great. And I know that there's going to be people who are going to think it sucks. And I know who those people are sometimes. And sometimes I'm friends with, and I know that there's, all right, this is not going to be this person's cup of tea. And they're going to think I'm nuts because I think this match is, but this is a match where it's like, I don't see why anyone wouldn't think this was great. Maybe they wouldn't think it's the greatest thing they've ever seen, like me and you were going on about, or Dave Meltzer. But man, I mean, this was just, it's phenomenal. I mean, I think we're probably preaching to the choir on this show.
Yes.
But
if you're still out there and you haven't watched this, drop everything you're doing.
You got to stop
it.
what you're doing and go watch it.
Listening to this show and go watch it, please.
And I don't
wait an hour. We only have a half an hour left. Listen to the rest of the show and then go watch it immediately after. How about that?
And I don't even think we're ruining it by setting expectations too high because I think it'll meet them. I think it's just fucking great. Anyway, so that's anything else on New Japan? Sasha?
I think we've gotten Mercedes, we've gotten New Japan, we got Mone. Vince McMahon's back.
Work on that.
All weekend. I'll work on it.
Listen to her theme because she
it's not great, but I'll listen to it.
Money.
Anyway.
Money. She says it. You gotta say it like her.
Anyway, let's get to a quick check-in here of Pro Wrestling Noah and All Japan Pro Wrestling, our last half hour of the show here. Noah's the new year started off January 1st, 9,500 in Budokan Hall for this Noah the New Year show. I watched the entire show. I thought it was a really good show, top to bottom. I thought it was solid. The main event was okay. The Shinsuke Nakamura Great Muta match was okay. Like
spectacle.
It was a spectacle. You know what I mean? Like the Nakamura entrance fucking rocked. He had the violin guy out, and like when the music ended for him, that was the loudest I've heard Japan in years. Like when his music got done playing and he got in the ring, the crowd was just like, yeah, they were just so pumped up. And that guy's just a different aura. You forget what that aura is like with Shinsuke Nakamura in Japan. You were like, fuck, dude, that guy rocks.
There's a difference between this and when he comes out with boogs. You know what I mean?
Pat McAfee's gyrating on the, a lot better than, a little bit more pomp and circumstance than.
Because they ruin everything in that company.
Of course they ruin everything.
They turn it into a cartoon, and he becomes a cartoon and he knows it too. Like you could just even feel it in his own vibes. And this popped a huge house. And the Muta retirement thing is working for business. There's no question about it. And this felt like a big deal. It had it had that big deal feel to it with these two guys. And the Nakamura entrance was phenomenal. And I have a hot take, Rich. You want to hear a hot take?
Let's go. Piping hot.
Nakamura has two great themes. The WWE theme is better than Subconscious. And I know a lot of people will probably disagree with that. I went back and watched some old Nakamura matches. I went and listened to the Subconscious on YouTube. Great theme. I think they really nailed it with this.
I'm going to have to. I haven't listened to Subconscious in a while, but especially when you get the violin guy out there.
Yeah.
That adds a whole different dynamic to it. I agree.
They're both great themes.
He builds it up. The violin guy builds it up a lot too.
He can't. Subconscious is great. He cannot go back. This theme is him now. It's just him.
Yeah, I might be with you on that. I'm gonna have to go back and listen to Subconscious soon. But people are gonna be mad.
Yeah, they're gonna be mad, but it's okay. But I went and listened to Subconscious, and it's like it didn't hit me the way I thought it would. I was like, this is a good theme, but man, I think the other one is just fucking is him now. Like, it's an all-time theme. They really nailed it.
Oh yeah. And it's fucking incredible.
And I can't remember, but wasn't which either Glorious was written for him or his was written for Bobby Roode. I can't remember. And
oh my God.
I think Glorious was written for Nakamura.
Ugh.
Someone in the chat will remember, but one or the other is true, though. One or the other of those is true. And it's funny to think about either way. Like Bobby Roode coming out to the violin.
To fucking Bobby Roode having a 2.5-star match.
Or Nakamura coming out to Glorious. I will present. I think
he could make that work. There's no way Bobby Roode would make this work, but I think Nakamura could make Glorious work. As dumb as it would be. It would be real dumb.
Gerard DiTrolio, who I trust. Glorious was written for Knock. I told you.
Ugh.
You didn't know that,
I mean, he could make it work, but no.
Yeah.
God, that would have sucked.
Yep. It's funny though. It's a fun fact. All right, one of you geeks has to take a Nakamura entrance and put Glorious over it.
No, please don't.
And I want to see it. No, I want to see it now.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah,
I want to see it now. But the violin song, just like it's just perfect for the whatever it's called, the name of it. Where's Andrew Rich must not be here because
he's not here right now. Yeah, he would let you know.
Oh shit. That was a mistake. Did anybody hear that? No? Nope. Good. Lost my train of thought. Yeah, no, it was a spectacle. I didn't think much of the match, but it wasn't about that. You know, you're not watching that match to see a match of the year contender. You're watching for the spectacle of Nakamura and a Noah ring and the Great Muta not having his final match. That'll be with Sting and Darby Allin
this was the Great Muta's final match though. Not that Keiji Muto guy. The Keiji Muto guy is going to wrestle again.
No. I thought Muta's final was in the Sting and Darby Allin.
Muta's final was here.
No. Muto's final is in March.
Yes.
Muta's final is with Sting and Darby Allin.
I think you're right. Yeah, I forget because they kept saying this was his final match though. Or are they just saying the final match between maybe final singles match for Muta? Maybe that's what they were saying. I think you're right, but now I don't remember anymore. I think is he just Muto on the in the Darby Allin thing?
The Tokyo Dome is his retirement match. Keiji Muto. That is in March. The February or January, whenever it is, the match with Sting and Darby Allin is before the Tokyo Dome match, and I think that is the Muta A final.
Okay.
I think. I'm almost positive. I don't think he's Keiji Muto in that one.
Oh, you're right. You're right. He is Muta. So I don't know what they were saying here. Maybe just final. I don't know what the hell they were saying.
Final singles match.
Maybe final singles match. Yeah, he's Muta on this one. So
yeah, because he's got to be Muta for Sting.
Oh, for sure. Right.
You know, and then he's having his final match in the Tokyo Dome as obviously Muto. So this is his. And then he had the match at Wrestle Kingdom. I don't know what he has in between or how many he has left. But yeah, January 21st is Muta, Sting, and Darby. And then and then he has the match at the Tokyo Dome. But yeah, it was all right. I mean, I think
I enjoyed it more than I thought I would. It very hard spectacle stuff, and that's fine. It's just a big spectacle.
Look,
they came out there.
If this is what his run has been, I would have been fine with it. Yeah, so it was fine. I'm just so Muta'd out though. It's like it did hurt it for me a little. I will admit. I've had enough of this fucking guy. I want him to just go away already. I hate to be a buzzkill about it all, but we've talked about it a million times.
Right. So let's move on because there was some other stuff on the show that I did like a lot. Mostly the semi-main event I thought was tremendous. Kaito Kiyomiya defeating Kano, GHC heavyweight title match. I will say it was worked at a little bit of a different style than the other Kiyomiya Kano matches. Now they still beat the hell out of each other a little bit. They still got kind of brutal, but this felt to me more like Kaito Kiyomiya is on a different level than Kano now, and just out wrestled him and outworked him. And it wasn't necessarily the Kano bullying this guy and them just beating the shit out of each other. This felt more like a heavyweight championship match, a little bit, more slow at certain points. And then when it was done, Kiyomiya just put the guy away and just proved, no, I'm the champion and you're not on my level right now type of thing, which I thought was an interesting direction.
I thought it was a really good match. I thought it was not one of their best.
No. I've loved the style of their previous matches a lot more. This was just different.
I mean, the Falcon Arrow on the apron, or should I say the Falcon Arrow that missed the apron, is going to be the spot that everybody remembers forever from this match. It was a really good match. Don't get me wrong, but I think that they've had better. It's like we just talked about with Omega and Ospreay. I think these two have had more violence in their matches before than they've had in this one. And, if I was going to recommend their matches to people, this just probably wouldn't be one of my top picks of the matches they've had against each other. But still, I liked it a lot. And Kiyomiya had to win. In the past years when they've had title matches against each other, with the way that Noah books, you couldn't really tell who was going to win. This one, you had a feeling Kiyomiya had to win it, and he did, and it was the right call. And, you know, the feeling you got out of it where it just felt like he was the better guy. I mean, maybe, you know, they need to do that with Kiyomiya.
Right. I thought it was refreshing because a lot of times like Kano takes it because Kano's always kind of had this guy's number and he bullied him, and that's how we originally, you know, he knocked him out and bullied him and knocked him out and bullied him and knocked him out and bullied him. Kiyomiya was just like, nah, dude, I'm bigger, I'm better, I'm older, I'm stronger. Like it's just he controlled this match. Like Kano got him a couple times and they slapped it, but at the end of the day, when he needed to put this guy away, he just put him away. And I think that's I like it. I like that idea because it's now time for Kiyomiya to just be a guy and just be the guy. He's your champion. He needs to be better than these other guys. He needs to be, you know, a step above, you know, guys that are just getting title shots here and there. And I thought that was an interesting direction. It didn't make for maybe the match that I was expecting these two to have, but I think it made for a very good, strong title defense for Kiyomiya, and you probably need more of those right now.
Yeah, I mean, because, you know, Muto didn't put him over, so you know, maybe everybody else needs to put him over strong. So you know, maybe that's the right way to approach these now. I want to see this guy be an alpha and just take these matches by the throat and really assert himself. He doesn't have to worry about Muto anymore. And, you know, hopefully when Muto goes away, some of these other guys will go away too. Hopefully the Hiroshi Hase thing doesn't end up being as prominent as it could end up being. Because if they do give Hase a contract, he's going to get pushed. I know he's 61 years old. And I guess we could talk about him. I mean, he was the X and, wait, was he the X?
He was. Yes.
Yeah, he was the X.
Yeah.
I was just confused whether that was a lot has happened this week.
It's been a busy wrestling week.
I knew he was on the show. I couldn't.
Yeah,
I knew he was on the show. I couldn't remember if he was the X. Look, I thought for a 61-year-old man, he looked good.
No, he looked really good. He looked way better than Muto's ever looked. Or the Muto's looked in his, you know, this last run here.
Okay. Now let's be fair. Now he does not have the charisma or the aura.
No, of course not. No, I mean, like pure physically. Close. I mean, physically, yeah, physically looks better than Fujita. Physically moves better than Fujita. Physically moves better than Muto. Physically, he's not. You know, he's not Keiji Muto. He's better than Keiji. Kaz Fujita, who's never fucking mattered ever. But no, I mean, like, he's not that. But I thought he came out there and he acclimated himself pretty well. He took bumps, he took chops, he took hits. Like, yeah, I was kind of surprised at how competent he was. I kind of thought, oh man, this guy's old as hell. And he came out and you're like, yeah, he looks pretty good for 61. But and then he moved like fine. You know what I mean? I put him pretty close to like Tatsumi Fujinami, who we talked about in the Wrestle Kingdom thing, who still gets around pretty damn good. Like, he's not, you know, obviously what he was in his prime, but like, you wouldn't think that man is in his 60s or whatever. You know, he moves around like a guy in his late 40s, early 50s, somewhere in that range. He's old.
You know what these two guys look like? They look like the lawyer that lives on your block, the 60-year-old lawyer who jogs on the weekends and he's in excellent shape and
he does 5Ks every weekend like an asshole. And yeah.
And you have the conversation 3 times a year with your wife. You're like, that guy's 62. Jim is 62. Look at him out there. Look at him out there jogging, you know? And
well, you're eating pork butt. You're eating your pork butt tacos. Yeah.
And your wife's like, yeah, I probably would, Jim, you know? And you're like, fucking Jim. You know, like,
you know what? Tomorrow I'm gonna get in shape, and then
yeah.
Like, I'm gonna go run. You know what? I'm gonna start running, and then
yeah. You know, like that. That's what Hase is like, and Fujinami to some extent too. But but he doesn't have the charisma of Muto or the presence, and I don't think he's gonna draw like him. You know, at the end of this run here, where look, this retirement run is drawing. I mean, they put 9,500 people in the Budokan Hall. And if you watch the show, if they're lying, they're not lying a lot.
No, that looked like a very, very full building.
Yeah, the place was packed.
When they did those long shots and panned the crowd, I mean, there didn't seem to be a whole lot of empty seats anywhere.
Yeah. So, I mean, you know, but now they're in a position. Listen, Noah did this to themselves. When you build your promotion around these old fucks and that's the crowd you're drawing from, and, you know, it's like, and you don't want that to recede when these guys go away, then maybe you should have used these guys to put over the younger guys at some point. This is what we've been screaming about. Instead, now you're begging Hiroshi Hase to get out of his government job and come wrestle for you because you've put yourself and booked yourself into this position. You know, If Muto would just do the right thing and put it's so funny in the lead up when Muto's saying, "Oh, I'm bigger than GHC, so I have to go on last," and he's right, and that's true,
you, motherfucker.
But that's your fault that that's the case because you didn't put the guy over and you didn't put the title over, and maybe that wouldn't be the case, or maybe it would be more debatable if you had handled Kiyomiya properly, but you didn't, and he's in the same position he was before he feuded with you because of the way that you handled it and wouldn't do business the right way with the kid. So you're out here speaking the truth and telling us what we already know because you caused it. And now they have to find the next old fuck because you're retiring. And they already know nobody cares about Fujita enough or Masayaki or Masakatsu Funaki or any of these other guys. And they'll probably wither away and leave with you. And now they're scrambling, trying to get this poor old man out of retirement, throwing him the bag. Because that's the position they put themselves in. You know, maybe he will do business the right way and put the kid over. But does he have enough cachet and panache for it to make a difference? Muto would have. Maybe this is the last time we have to do this because he's finally going away.
I hope so. Yeah, that'd be great.
And the rest of the show, I mean, I don't know. I thought it was all right. What did you think of so Jack Morris defeats Tim Thatcher, right? And Jake Lee's music hits. And it's so funny hearing the commentators saying how Budokan Hall was going nuts and there wasn't a fucking peep.
First off, Stu Fulton had no idea who that was. He goes, "The mask comes off." And then there's silence.
Yeah.
And then there's silence. And then Mark goes, "That's Jake Lee." And Stu goes, "Jake Lee in the Budokan Hall." It's like,
the fans are going nuts.
He had no idea. He looked to Mark, and Mark was like, "I think it's Jake Lee. Let's say Jake Lee or whatever." I don't know.
I don't think it was. It wasn't it? It wasn't Mark.
Oh, was Lazenby doing that?
Yeah.
No. I think they had Pickering and Stu for this one. They were going back and forth. I'm positive it was. I know it was Stu.
You could be right. Yeah,
because I know he was like, "The mask comes off," and Stu's voice or whatever.
The Welsh accent.
It's Jake Lee, and there's like it's probably only about 10 seconds of silence, but it's deafening. And then like Mark's got to go, "Jake Lee here. That's Budokan Hall. I can't believe it."
What's the richest Welsh accent?
And then they're like, "Budokan Hall's going crazy," and nobody was making any noise. Nobody cared.
They were not going crazy. No, they were not going crazy. No, nobody cared. And they went crazy for Nakamura. They fucking went. So they went crazy at times during the show. They did not go crazy.
Yeah, this was not a polite crowd. They were not polite when Nakamura came out. They were very polite and respectful when Jake Lee came out.
And how about poor Jack Morris? He has to sell this like he's like, "All right, yeah, Jake Lee, cool. Like you want to be friends with me?"
How weird was this? Like, so like Jake Lee comes out and you're like, "Oh, shit's gonna go down," and then Jake Lee's like, "Put her here, pal," and then they just kind of shake, and then you're like, "Oh,
good match, kid." Yeah,
right? Like,
what the fuck was that?
Okay,
very strange. Like it almost would have been better if Thatcher won the match. And Jake Lee came out and like smacked him or something. And then, because Thatcher has that kind of energy where he'd get in his face. And this was weird. It's like Jack Morris wins. And then, he just comes out and they're just like smiling at each other. Like, "Oh, all right, I got a new pal." Like, what's the point of that? They're going to be a tag team? What are we doing here? Are they going to go after Kojima and Segura? Like, is there juice in that? Is there juice in Jake Lee and Jack Morris?
No. No, there is not.
Yeah, I don't understand. So it's very weird.
No.
Fans didn't care. We were confused. These poor announcers have to put something. It's tricky for announcers when you got to put something over that no one in the building cares about because your job is to get it over. And look, I feel for them when they're in that kind of position. It's Jim Ross has the kind of history and cachet where he can low key shit on things that aren't getting over. But these guys can't do that. They got, you know what I mean? It's like they're desperately trying to, and then they're overselling it, and then they look like goofs, and it's just a big old mess. So I don't know. We'll see Jake Lee and Noah at least for a little while.
Can I tell you what my match of the night was?
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to hear your match.
Wasn't that bullshit Kiyomiya Kano match? No, it was good. I thought Satoshi Kojima and Takashi Sugiura versus Kenta and Marufuji rocked. I thought that match ruled.
Well, tell us why.
That bell rang and these motherfuckers beat the hell out of each other. Kenta, this is a Kenta you have not seen in a long time. New Japan Kenta is fun, and he's, goofy. And I watched the Rambo, and he came down and he did the speed walk or whatever. He's kind of he understands. He gets the game. He gets his role. He understands. This was grumpy ass Kenta again, and I love grumpy Kenta because he came out there and he was pissed, and they just slapped each other and chopped each other and beat the ever living shit out of each other. And yeah, I think Kojima and Sugiura, that one of my favorite tag teams in the world right now. Kenta and Marufuji, obviously not what they were in their prime, but I thought Kenta was great in here. Marufuji, he's fully washed, right?
His
I hate
body.
to say it. I think his
body. Listen, his body's destroyed. He doesn't care. He doesn't want to be in there. He just wants to go home. Like, this has been for like a half a decade now.
Yeah, because he didn't do anything in this match, and that's fine. But
yeah, it's he's just a beaten up man. Like, his final hurrah was that year he did the G1 and had the match
2016, I think. Yeah, 2016.
And ever since then, it's like we've heard stories of him turning down title reigns, and he just doesn't want to be bothered because he's just in pain. He just doesn't, he's held together by tape. He doesn't fucking care. I don't know. It didn't really land for me.
Really? Wow. Okay.
I love everybody in this match. 4 of my favorite wrestlers of all these are 4 of my favorite wrestlers of all time, but Kojima and Kenta especially. I didn't think it was bad or anything, but I thought it was, by the end of it, I was a little sad. I don't know. I was thinking about how great Kenta Fuji used to be, and they're both just shells of their former selves. And I know Kenta has reinvented himself, and I've defended him plenty, and I didn't think there was anything wrong with him here. And yeah, the other guy, look, Kojima and Sugiura, I mean, they're fucking great.
I just love the grumpy uncles. They're just like,
yeah, and
that you've annoyed them by getting in this match with them, and they're like, all right, here we go.
Yeah, and Kojima, we knew he could still go, but it's like in New Japan,
he's been great.
In New Japan, he's like the smiling veteran who's like a nice guy, and it's like here, like you're saying, there's a nastiness to him, like because he's such a great wrestler, he knows his role no matter where he is. You know what I mean? He knows his role in New Japan is not to be.
Well, and he knows the house style too.
Yeah. He knows he's not supposed to be a grumpy ass kicker doing a prelim tag with Master Wato and Tenzan. You know what I mean? He comes here, he knows his role, and he knows the house style, and he works to it, and he's still kicking ass. And he doesn't appear, and Sugiura too. I mean, he's on the fucking juice and everything else, but
excuse me.
But I mean, he don't slow down either. I mean, now he got a late start. Like, he was like one of them 30-year-old rookies. So maybe he doesn't have the wear and tear that a lot of these guys do.
And he's looked 47 for about 15 years now.
He was born 47. He's one of those guys, but
always looks tired. Always looks like he just woke up. Those eyes, the bags under his eyes, the perpetual bags under his eyes. I love it.
Yeah.
He looks like someone's like, did you ever go to someone's house as a kid and there was like the dad that like you had to be quiet because if you woke up that dad, shit was gonna go down, And he didn't even like. I had that dad. Like it wasn't my dad, but I had friends that had that dad. They didn't even work like night shift. It was like I get it if they work night shift. They just worked a normal job, and it was like 8 p.m. Like what the fuck? Get over yourself, dude. But like you had that dad, and you knew like you hear a door open, you're like, oh fuck.
Yeah.
And he'd be like, whoever the name is, like, get in here. And you're like, oh boy.
Yeah. You knew you were going home.
Like, I'm just going to leave now. That's Sugiura. You knew He's just like home. That dad that got woke up.
Yep. And you knew the next thing was you already knew.
Oh, I packed my stuff up. I'm out. Yeah. I'm not being a part of it.
Rich, you got to go. I got to go. My dad, you got to go. You're in the middle of a fucking Tecmo Super Bowl season, but you got to go. That's Sugiura. No doubt about it.
Cigarette hanging out the side of his mouth.
Yeah, lighting one up, making sure that you leave, right? Making sure that you leave
before things happen that he doesn't want you to see and report to the other parents. Yeah,
so he gets in a quick smoke to watch you walk down the street out on the porch. Absolutely. Yeah, we all had one of them. Yeah, so we got new junior tag team champions. That never happens on Noah shows. These junior tag team title switches. The show was all right. I mean, I enjoyed it well enough, I guess. And, the main event was a spectacle. The semi was really good. And everything hit right about what it looked like it would hit on paper is what I would say.
I will say the production, Wrestle Universe, the night and day difference between what Wrestle Universe gives you, what New Japan World gives you in terms of like watching it on my TV is just like New Japan World looks like shit on TV, man. It
really does.
It's so bad. And it's like,
so tired of the 480p bullshit.
Right. Come on, man. Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
And then you watch Noah and it's like, Jesus Christ. Like, this is incredible looking.
You ever put on New Japan on Axis? Like,
it blows me away. I'm like, whoa, what happened here? And I'm like, that's what it looks like. That's what it would look like if I was.
You're like, why can't this look like this all the time? Why do I gotta watch?
I sometimes, because I do, like, my DVR captures every New Japan on Access thing. I delete like 95% of it because I've seen. Yeah. But sometimes when like a match that I really, really loved pops up, I watch it again in like that because I'm like, it's a whole different view. I'm watching it in like crystal clear HD. I can see their faces. I can see it's a whole different animal when you're watching it on. So yeah, there is sometimes where I'll like when Omega and Ospreay get on there like that, I'm probably going to save that one and watch it again.
Yeah, it's like when you watch on New Japan World, it's like you're watching through like a haze filter, like a filter of fucking haze. Like it's like it's smoky in the room or something. It's just it's I don't know. All these years they can't give us a clear feed after all these years. I just don't understand. They have it on Axis, which means that someone is able to do it. I mean, why can't they do that? I don't know enough about the technology and why they can't stream closer to that quality.
I got it a little bit more in like 2014 or whatever, but I don't get it anymore in 2022. It's like I stream stuff all the time in like insane high quality. Why does this still look like this?
Yeah. And Wrestle Kingdom, when people are doing their entrances and the big video board, it has this beautiful stuff going on. It's just one giant pixel.
Yeah, it's just
one
pixelated
giant
like crazy. Yeah,
pixel.
or like anytime confetti comes down or fireworks are going on, it's just pixelated like crazy. It's a mess.
Garbage.
Speaking of garbage, we'll end here with All Japan Pro Wrestling show. They are doing their New Year Giant Series 2023. Had some important matchings and some interesting booking.
Speaking of garbage,
well,
you mean you're not excited about Onita blowing a DDT spot like he's Mone against Yoshitatsu? You're not excited about that?
Yeah, the big Yoshitatsu Onita match that we're all clamoring for.
You want to talk about guys who can't move anymore? Jesus fucking Christ. Can we put Onita out to pasture, please?
Oh my God.
Does anyone need this?
And also, all of his new companies fail. Why are we still going back to this guy? How many FMW retreads are we going to do that don't work and they all die?
I will be fair to All Japan here. They've been a very, very boring, same shit over and over again company for like the last 2-3 years. Okay. Do I want to see Onita do a death match and all exploding fucking barbed wire death match in All Japan in his current state? I do not. Do I want to see Nosawa Rangai and his band of fucking gypsies?
Do I want to see Kendo Kashin and Nosawa Rangai win the tag team titles? The All Asia tag team titles, I should say.
No, I absolutely do not. And neither did anybody in Cork and Hall, for that matter. But they're trying different things. You got Minoru Suzuki in there, forming a unit with Naruki Doi of all people. They're going full steam ahead with this Kento Miyahara, Takuya Nomura story. He beats him on the third.
Good match.
They win.
Really, really good match.
Yeah,
like that.
Really, I went 4 1/4.
Yep.
I thought it was better than Kiyomiya Kano by a smidge.
Ooh, I think I agree with you. I do.
By a smidge. They were both notebook worthy, but I went 4 1/4 on the All Japan match, and I went 4 flat on Kiyomiya Kano. And they won the tag team titles, so they got the tag team titles off Kono and Suwama. So the Miyahara Nomura thing, and they want to bring Nomura in full time. Nomura to this point has been hesitant, and they want to do a long-term story with Miyahara and Nomura, where Nomura is kind of his protege. And that's why Nomura has been involved in some of these tags with Miyahara and the All Japan Young Boys against Nagata and the New Japan Young Lions, because the idea is supposed to be that Nomura is not a young boy, but he's the protege of Miyahara. And then they'll do the big split down the line, and pro wrestling. They'll do pro wrestling down the line. But they want him to commit to the company, and he's been hesitant to do so. But these shows were really built around those two guys. And so they're doing new stuff there at the top. Jake Lee's out. Tajiri's out. New bookers. Obviously, Ron Guy. If you don't think he's got influence here, then you're not paying attention. All this shit has Ron Guy's fingerprints all over it. He's the fucking All Asia Tag Team Champions, for starters. He puts the fucking titles on himself. All his buddies are being brought in. All the scuzzballs are coming in now. But look, All Japan needed something new. Is all this shit going to land with me?
I can't do these scuzz guys again. I can't. I'm so sick of seeing these guys on shows. I just can't watch these guys anymore.
I agree. But
including the Voodoo Murderers. You already have scuzzers, and now there's even. I mean, come on.
Yeah, but they're breaking them up now and everything. Everything's the whole deck is getting reshuffled, and I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. Is it all going to settle in a good place? Probably not.
I just want this. Why can't this region move forward? Why are we just retreading the same fucking 10 people over and over and over and over and over and over and over again?
I mean,
there's no good young wrestlers anywhere in the world that we can start building around.
Let's look at the bright side. You're going to get Takuya Nomura all year. You're going to get Naoya Nomura. They're getting him back because Tajiri's out of the picture. Okay, so they get him back into the fold, and he'll be working more moving forward with his real blood tights. I love those tights. Real blood on his ass and down both legs. Real blood. Because it's his Scuzzer tag team he has in fucking Ganabre Pro or whatever the fuck it's called. Whatever that scuzzball promotion is that he works in. So, you're kind of look at the positives from that standpoint. Okay. And there's new pushes for some new people. And yeah, you're going to have to deal with the Ron Guy crew for a little while, but you know their MO. They drift into town. They fucking do their worst. They squeeze every dollar they can out of these places, and they drift away. You don't see him as much in Dragon Gate anymore. He's allegedly going to retire from Noah. So now it's his turn. Now it's All Japan's turn. And
why does this guy do a retirement tour? Who cares? Who fucking cares?
Look, man, like I said, it's not all landing with me either. All I'm saying is if any company needed a teardown and a restart, it was this one. Because look, you get the two Nomuras in. Yuma Anzai is going to get his push this year. Okay. And we'll see how he develops. And you deal with these scuzzers for a little while until they go away. Onita's going to have his death match and you'll never see him again. Nosawa will get his claws in for a little while, and then he'll disappear, and he'll take all his scuzzers with him. And you'll get the Suzuki thing with Naruki Doi and Okuto and whoever else they add to that, which I'm intrigued by. So there's some good with the bad. I'm not trying to sell you on it.
I'm just going to have to be a little bit more, jump in at certain matches. Like this, I didn't watch any. I watched Nomura and I watched Miyahara, and I like that, and I watched a few other things. But I'm just going to have to, when I know that it's people that I'm not going to just skip those guys. You know what I mean? Just skip them. They're not worth my time. And that's fine. That's fine, I guess. If it's going to give some juice to All Japan, I guess that's okay. But
it's just something different. I mean, maybe Hokuto Omori will get the rub from Suzuki and Doi and become something. Who knows? And Naoya Nomura is obviously a great guy to bring back, and he's got a whole different look and attitude. If they could get Takuya Nomura to stick around, that would be great. I think Takuya Nomura and Miyahara have a better match in them at some point down the line. I don't think they topped out with this one. Plus, they'll have more story behind it next time too, as they let this thing develop. So there's some things that are looking up here. And, there's some things that obviously people like us aren't really going to care about. And, you just have to take it with a smile, skip the shit you don't want to see. But I think it's a more interesting promotion now than it's been over the last 2 or 3 years or so. Would you rather just have it be the same old shit with Jake Lee and Suwama?
I agree. No, they needed something to shake it up, and they have. I'll give them credit they're trying a bunch of different new things after 3 years of not doing anything new, of doing literally the same. No, I will obviously take this over what it is. And I do like the influx of younger guys coming in. I want those people to be, when it's all said and done, I want those people to be the most prominent and not, the gang of scuzzers that are coming in. And ultimately that's probably the goal. And the scuzzers that are coming in are not the guys that usually take over the company in terms of, winning titles and all that sort of stuff. It's just, I'm just so sick of seeing those guys. You know what I mean? It's like, I see them more than I see almost every other wrestler in Japan because they're just fucking everywhere.
I know. They're everywhere. It's so, look, that largely, when Nosawa got his claws into Dragon Gate, that really soured me on Dragon Gate to the point that I haven't recovered. Like, I'm still like arm's length with Dragon Gate, because of that shit. So I understand. I totally get it. But I at minimum, I think it's more interesting now than it has been. Yeah, I used to, the same shit over and over.
If I never see another Jake Lee versus Suwama match ever in my fucking life again,
all these same guys rotating over and over, and Miyahara will be prominent again because they kind of kept him out of the way. They tried to let Jake Lee breathe a little, and you could even tell with Miyahara, he wasn't putting 100% into his work last year. He really wasn't. And I think with him back on top and a little more motivated with a direction and working with different people, with a different person here, I don't know. I think the arrow, this is another promotion, I think, where the arrow is pointing up. And I think that they can have an interesting year. That might not mean a good year, but I think that their year for the first time in a long time will be interesting. I'll say that. Did you catch any of the other New Year's, like the 0-1? Did anything else hit tape?
I don't know if anything else dropped yet. Maybe people can let us know. I always refresh my sources to see about the 0-1. I don't think 0-1's popped up yet, and I don't know if the Big Japan has popped up yet. I know the Blood Christmas, the Freedoms, but I don't care about that. You don't either, right?
I ain't watching that shit.
Yeah, the Great Space War I've heard wasn't that good this year.
Right? That stinks every year.
That's stuck for like the last 4 or 5 years. I force myself to watch it every year. I'm done this year. I think
did they do that tag team tournament mix up thing? The
I don't even know what they did this year.
Promotion
I don't
tag
even know
team?
what they did this year. I don't care. Yeah.
Because that's different than the great. I'm talking about the New Year's Eve tag mashup where they draw the teams out of a fucking hat for all the indie promotions, and they do the tag team tournament. And that thing,
yeah, I don't even know if that happened. Yeah,
that thing was never good. People used to be like, I would try that every year, and that show would fucking stink. It would always be the first show of the year. It would be on New Year's Eve. All the scummer promotions would come together for this stupid like Battle Bowl style tag team tournament, and it was never fucking good. I don't even know if they're still doing it. I think maybe the pandemic killed it. I have no idea. But I don't know. I'll check out the Big Japan and the 0-1 when they cross my desk.
Tag Shuffle 2022. I believe it did happen. So there you go.
There you go. What terrible team won it?
I don't even know. Tag Shuffle 2022. Let's see here. I just know it's on the it's available places. That's all I know. Let me see if I can.
I don't even know what promotion hosted that shit.
Tag Shuffle 20.
Fucking Tag Shuffle.
It looks like it was a joint promotion of Big Japan and DDT.
It always is, yeah. So who were these fucking shit teams?
They did Shuffle 6-man.
Oh, even better. More shitty wrestlers.
People, yeah.
Fantastic.
Daishi Hashimoto, Yuki Inoue, or Yuko Ueno, I forget how to pronounce his name. Yuki Ueno, and Yuma Aoyagi. Sorry, I was trying to go to Yuma Aoyagi while I was pronouncing the other guy. Yeah. Hashimoto, Ueno, and Aoyagi are your...
They were the winners?
Yep.
All right, I got it too. They beat Mao, Yuko Miyamoto, and Yuya Aoki in the final. There's some decent wrestlers in that match. Let me take a look at the rest
tags, man. Ugh.
Oh, there's some real scummers in this thing. Look at it.
There's some guys.
Some real scummers here. Not as dirty as it usually is. A lot of DDT. Okay. A lot of DDT.
It feels like pretty much just DDT and Big Japan guys. I mean, there's a few really guys they dropped in there, but
yeah, I still wouldn't watch this if you fucking paid me, and people are technically. But whatever. two promotions that are not exactly on my radar these days. So it's a little tricky. It's a little tricky.
But other than that, yeah, of the late stuff, the Space War is up. Freedoms is up from Christmas Day, and that's it so far. So no
pass.
No 0-1. Yeah, I'm with you on that. So
freedoms.
Yeah. Anyway, that's it for us. So that is been this episode of the Flagship Podcast. Make sure you subscribe to us on Patreon, flagshippatreon.com, patreon.com/voices of wrestling, voicesofwrestling.com/Patreon. We didn't do a big read in the middle of the show where we kind of hard sold it, but there's a lot of stuff up there right now, a ton of stuff available over at flagshippatreon.com. You have all of your written 2022 Flagship Awards that are out. Those have gotten a lot of buzz, a lot of discussions about a lot of those. So check those out. Those are written content. Also, the Thursday Dynamite review is up. That is on the $5 tier. I have a brand new episode, the final episode of Goldberg 173-1. Ready to go. I was going to upload it around 3 p.m. today, but then, well, Vince McMahon decided, and I was just like, you know what? Now is probably not the right time to do it. So I will instead have it tomorrow, or by the time most of you guys listen to this, it will be available pretty much when you're ready to go. That'll be available in the afternoon on Friday. So that's available. Instant Reaction Live as well. If you want to hear us recap every single match of Wrestle Kingdom 17, you can do so there at flagshippatreon.com. So a ton of stuff, an absolute insane amount of content available for either $5 or $10 per month. And yeah, that is it for us. Voicesofwrestling.com for columns, previews, reviews, all that other good stuff. So that is it. That's Joe. I'm Rich.